Welcome to Middle Fingers Up, the show where we hold our heads high and our middle fingers higher. I'm your host, Kieran McKay. Today we are sitting down with Anna Levy. Anna has been helping perinatal women prepare, recover, rebuild, and keep their right to roam. Anna is dedicated to encouraging a strong mom collective. I am so happy because I'm going to stop here. There's a lot more that I want to share about Anna, but I want her help in sharing this. So I'm just going to welcome you now and say thank you for being here.
You are so welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it was lovely. A mutual friend sort of hooked us up. Thought maybe you'd be a good candidate for the show. After I had explained some of the feedback I was getting from parents and moms and women. And when I reached out, it was lovely that you responded. Thank you, because I'm very nervous behind the screen making my cold email calls, DMs or whatever they are. And so when I get the response back, it's so lovely. And so thank you for agreeing to be here today.
Thank
and
you.
Here we are.
For popping my podcast cherry.
Oh, yes. I think you may have named the episode right there. Thanks for popping my... I love the sound of that.
Popping my podcast cherry.
That's right. There you go. There you go. Everyone knows this is going to be a good one right off the bat because I have never had a guest right off the bat. Let's do this. So, and that, I believe, is sort of what you said when your first response back to me was like, let's do this. And then you said it in a similar way when we talked. And so I've been waiting to just do this. I've been super excited. So I just want to ask you a couple questions. Okay. You have on Instagram, you have it's Right to Roam Training.
Yes.
And it's a pretty successful Instagram account. I have been on it. I follow you. Your branding, it's very clear. You've been doing this for some time. It's laid out so nice. Your messages are wonderful. And so I think it'd be so lovely to hear from you what it is that you're putting out there. Because clearly we need it if you have over 1,000 followers, and that's a dream for me one day. And so to have that means people are liking what you're putting out. So what is Right to Roam Training? What is this?
First of all, thank you so much for saying that, because it's definitely, like I previously mentioned or just said to you, that, you know, being a business owner, doing something by yourself, you're just in your head so much, and you're just the judgment you're doing on your own and the criticism. So for you to say good following and, you know, you're needed, it's like, thank you very much for saying that first off.
Well, I feel it. I am glad our friend Amy introduced me to you, because I felt right away, like, oh my gosh, this is nice. And your videos, everything that you put out there it's real, it's genuine. And so I knew today was going to be just as good. And then we've had a few, like a phone call. Even today, we're like, stop talking because I need to do it through recording. There. Yeah, yes. Exactly. So do you feel that? Do you feel the success of what you're doing over there?
Yes, I do. Like, and it's, I think success can look in so many different ways. Yeah. But I know I'm making a difference in some people's lives. I am helping women just feel better in their pregnancy, and then obviously in the postpartum, because no one can prepare us for that. Yeah. And then, I do feel that difference, and I have the feedback from clients and stuff, and then them just feeling more confident in their body. So I know. So tell us a little bit about what is it? What are we talking about? What is it that you do? So Right to Roam Training, I actually started off focusing more on kind of supporting people with fitness who are into outdoor pursuits. So hiking, mountain biking, rock climbing, snowboarding, skiing, like that. I'm very passionate about that. Obviously now it looks different because I have kids myself, and so I'm not out there getting crazy as I used to be. Yeah. But that's where Right to Roam comes from. So when I was trying to find a name for the business, I kind of just I don't even know what I Googled, but I Googled something and then Right to Roam came up. And it's actually like a law, I think, or I can't even remember what it was, but that people have the right to roam wherever they want in the outdoors. And I think it was came from Europe. I believe it was somewhere in Europe. And so I was like, I kind of like that. So I was like, hey, we'll go with that. And then obviously I've been working with perinatal individuals for about 9 years now. And so kind of always did it from the beginning, and then I just got more and more into it. I've always thought it's a niche. People are always going to be having babies. So that's never going to run out.
Yeah.
But I also was just seeing a lack of support for people during pregnancy, and then after. You'd see a lot of, yoga classes and Pilates, which is helpful. But there was always that kind of fear of, well, you can't lift heavy, or you have to stop doing what you've been doing before. Like you can't keep doing your hikes. You can't keep lifting heavy weights if you were an Olympic athlete or whatever, stuff like that. Yeah. Which is very untrue.
Sometimes we weren't even allowed to open the door for ourselves. Like, I don't know if you remember, but the times that I was pregnant, I kind of love the fact that people treated me like I was so fragile.
Yeah.
Oh, the pregnant lady's coming. So someone would stand there holding a door at, the mall or get out of your way. And you're like, this is lovely. But you're talking about it to a different extreme where we were told, or a lot of women have been told, that you can't keep up with your physical regime. You can't keep up
or that
with...
You're broken. But you're not. You're pregnancy is the biggest athletic, endurance event a person can do.
I've never looked at it that way. That's a really good point.
And there's actually numbers to support that, because everyone has a basal metabolic rate. So right now, you sitting, you have a resting one, I have a resting one. And so this is just all the chemical reactions that are happening in our body in order just to keep us alive. There's a rate for that. There's a number. When you are pregnant, your resting metabolic rate is the same as someone who is doing an ultramarathon.
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
So no wonder
I'm starving for a lot of it.
You're starving. Going up and down stairs is hard. Everything is harder because your body is working really freaking hard, right? Yeah. And so, my family, when I was pregnant, there'd be things like, oh my God, be careful walking down the stairs. You're like, I've been doing this for 30 years. I got stairs down, I'm pretty sure by now.
Yeah.
And I have a current client right now who... her family's very oh my God, be careful. Don't do that. Don't reach for things high up on the shelves in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And you're just okay, this is annoying now because, and I think sometimes it maybe even brings on self-doubt that I can't do this. Maybe I shouldn't do that.
Right.
I really want to go for a bike ride. I've been missing riding my bike outside, but I'm really afraid something's going to happen.
Yeah. It might hurt my baby.
Exactly. It might hurt my baby or whatever. Yeah. And, so for me, when I work with pregnant individuals, I'm there to support you to make sure, you're safe, you're doing everything safely, you're feeling good, and, you don't need to be just 100% miserable. There's obviously things I can't take away, pregnancy pains and discomforts and all the things that can happen with your pelvis changing and getting bigger.
Yeah.
But, I'm there to guide you along the way, and then as you get closer to the due date, preparing you for birth, right? Birth is... the other big event. It's the big power event after the endurance event. and you have...
crossing the finishing line.
Exactly. And we have no idea what's going to happen, though, right? We can prepare. We should prepare as much as we can. Get educated about what are your options for your pain medication. Mm-hmm. What positions can you be birthing in, right? Because laying flat on your back is not the only position. Let's use gravity.
You and I talked about this, and... I had a friend that's a doula. We've talked about this over the years too. This is not what I was taught.
No.
And I also believe my husband and I did a parenting class, and I think the doula in that class had said, hey, don't just believe what you see on TV. Mm-hmm. And you had brought it up in a conversation too, because up until then, I thought that is how you have a baby. Mm-hmm. And that is how I gave birth to. I mean, I wasn't screaming, but yes, that whole laying flat. And you learn about these things and you're like, oh, you could have made it easier for me. Yeah. Why didn't you tell me that?
Yeah.
So, there's a lot. So what I hear you saying is you're kind of like a guide along the way, mm-hmm. and maybe in some ways offering validation and some reality checks of, you're big, like the cheerleader, just going along, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, do you see, because you had mentioned people that have family members that are saying, don't lift that, don't grab that. Do you see that come out from different cultural mm-hmm. backgrounds?
Oh, yeah. So I have worked with people who are of Asian background.
Yeah.
I'm Polish, and so that Eastern European, there's, I don't know if I've actually worked with any other Polish people other than some family members or friends.
Right.
But there's definitely cultural things. But there's also the flip side of it. I have seen, which I love on the postnatal side, that these cultures have like a menu prepared, right? This is what mom is going to eat. This is what we're going to do. This is like
to get her vitamins back, to balance her hormones,
tissues start recovering, right? Like I understand people have different diets, but like chicken broth, bone broth, like that is so helpful in recovering your tissues after they've done so much work. And so, yes, there's that, like, you know, the fear, the panic in pregnancy, don't do anything. You should just sit there and let everyone do everything for you, which is the worst thing we actually could be doing for our muscles, our joints, and our tissue. But then, on the flip side, our society is all about, let's bounce back. Let's, you know, we have to get you back to your pre-baby body weight, which is not what we have to do. So when cultures have that other side where it's like, we have to nurture mom, you know, it is a lot about baby, but baby's not doing a lot right now. They don't really, some cases, yes, the babies need a lot more support, you know, family spending time in the NICU, but what about mom? What about the birthing parent?
Right.
They need, like, it's a shock. Like, if you don't know, I've had so many clients that were like, I had no idea what it was going to be like in birth. I had no idea postpartum was going to be like this. And I think there's no way we can fully take that away or improve that, because we don't know what your birth is going to feel like. Every body is different. Every person's mental state is different.
Right.
And what access, like, or what supports you have access to are different. But like, I think it's just, there's so much more education that needs to happen and more support.
Yeah. And I think one thing we can do is what we're doing, which is talking about it. We can't necessarily know all the things that happen, because we all have different, like you said, deliveries and pregnancies and all that. However, the more we share our experiences, and I'm not just talking about the horror stories, because my time, that's all we really heard were the 50-hour, and I know I'm exaggerating, but the 50-hour labor, and you know, you gave birth to a demon and all these sorts of things, and you're like, holy crap, I'm never going to be able to give birth to a demon. Like, what the heck, right? So you get this false prep about things, and there's lots of things that I wish I had known too, and I think it's just a matter of creating this space so that we can start talking about it, and not to compare my story was harder than your story, but to share that there are many different versions to this, and we all struggled, or we all found a way, or whatnot. So I'm glad you're here, and I'm going to pause because I want to know a little bit more about you're a certified personal trainer.
Yes.
And you specialize in pre and postnatal fitness. As well as you're a trained fascial, did I say that right?
Yes.
Fascial, that's a real word. I didn't make it up today. Fascial stretch therapist. So sad to say, and I don't even know half of these words. I know the therapist word. So you do all these things as well. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the certified personal trainer I've been that since, I had to do that through university. It's a certification you get through using university courses. And then obviously specializing with pre and postnatal. I've done a whole bunch of different things that's just kind of been like education constantly. Just doing different courses on weekends, or like self-led kind of stuff. Yeah. And then the fascial stretch therapy, that I have not been doing a lot of that, just because having kids myself, and then the pandemic, you know, just did a lot of good for that. But with fascial stretch therapy, it's done on a massage table. You're fully dressed when we do it. And we just focus more on like what's going on at your joints, in terms of how your tissue, how your muscles are moving there. So with massage therapy, they're directly, you know, rubbing the muscles, bringing blood to that area. It's more targeted. Whereas with fascial stretch therapy, we're focusing on like, okay, what's happening in this grouping of muscles that's involved with this joint.
Oh, okay.
And so we don't take you into the pain cave, which is something I really like. And I think because you are relaxed the entire time, we're able to access your tissue so much better and release so much better. I have had clients fall asleep on my massage table as I'm stretching them, because it's just that good.
Wow.
Yeah, it's great.
So do you just isolate where would you normally do the massage?
As in, like, on the person's body?
Yeah.
So it's not massaging. It's a lot of, like, traction. So I'll be, like, pulling on your legs, pulling on your arms. Every time I have a new person, they're like, oh, my God, this is, like, a huge workout for you. Because I'm throwing your leg up on my back. It's across my hip. Yeah. Like, it's, yeah, I do get very sweaty doing it.
You're doing I love that kind of a workout where the trainer's doing all the work.
Oh yeah, people are like, oh, so I don't have to do anything. I'm like, no, I do all the like the stretching and everything for you. Like,
so people just laying limbs, sleeping?
Pretty much, just sleeping. I've had people cry too because it's an emotional release.
Yes. I can.
But not only is it like the muscles release, realigning and everything, but it's also, it can help with digestion. It can help with sleep and all that stuff.
Right.
So,
yeah.
It's freaking great. And I hope to, I do it for some clients that current clients that I have. And sometimes my husband will be lucky enough that I will help him out with his pains and aches. But yeah, so I always, and sometimes even when I do more in-person stuff with clients, like personal training, I'll sometimes sprinkle it in at the end of a session. So I'm just like, this is not like you're struggling here or they have a chronic thing. So I'll add that in.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what FST is.
That's lovely. So when you're working with clients as a personal trainer, your clientele is mostly
women.
Yeah. And uterus women owners that are pregnant, women that have had a baby, or like
both. Yeah. Okay. Both. I do have. Right now, obviously, I'm doing more online training.
Okay.
Just because I have 2 little kids and they're just not in daycare. It's hard to put. I have twins, and so putting 2 kids in at the same time is just a little expensive.
Yeah.
But hopefully that can start changing in the very near future. But yeah, so pregnant clients, postpartum. So with my online training, I can take you as soon as your first day back home from the hospital.
Okay.
And it's not, I think too, sometimes people are like, oh, it's like working out. I'm not ready to work out yet.
Yeah. Like, are we squatting here with kettlebells?
No,
because that would be painful.
You're laying in bed and there's exercises we can do in bed.
Okay.
Breathing exercises, pelvic floor kind of stuff. So it's all super gentle.
Okay. Lovely.
Yeah. So that's
lovely.
Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned the pelvic floor. We're going to get back to this. Mm-hmm. I want to know a little bit about your family. You mentioned your husband, and you have your mom of twins.
Yes.
And they're both 2?
2, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, boy and a girl. They're super fun, lots of energy. They're talking a lot right now, and it's great. It's a very fun age. It's very, like, physically, it's just always... People are like, oh, it gets easier. It just gets different. Like that's
a good way of putting it. You're right. It does get different. Yes.
It's like easier and harder, and it's just all the different seasons of parenthood, motherhood.
Yeah.
But no, they're a lot of fun right now.
So. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I can't wait to learn in a little bit the difference pre and post kids doing your work. So we're gonna come back to that. Why don't we just take a break for a minute and go into our middle fingers? What do we want to put our middle fingers up to today? Do you have something today?
I do. There's lots of things, but I can pick one. I want to put my middle fingers up to just the pressures from society and even, family members like we touched on culturally. Just the pressure for a woman or a uterus owner to bounce back after a human comes out of their body. The pressures to get back to a normal routine, to what their body used to be like. I think it's bullshit. I think we need to give our body and give that person so much more respect and care because they did the hard work.
Yeah.
And so, I think that's what I'm doing, I have 2 older sisters. They're 8 and 10 years older than me. Oh. So they've always kind of been like my second and third mothers.
Yeah.
Which is good and bad.
3 moms.
I love them, but it's just a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of opinions and advice. And so, just seeing, them becoming mothers, seeing my mom doing it, and my grandma, my mom's mom, I didn't really realize until a little later in my life, but how important she was to me.
Yeah.
But this lady sacrificed so much. She had 5 kids, a set of twins in there.
Oh, so that's where that comes from.
That's why I got that. So, but this woman just was did not do anything for herself other than smoke her cigarettes and enjoy her coffees and stuff like that and do her crossword puzzles.
Aww.
But she was a huge reason as to why I'm doing what I'm doing because, she just sacrificed so much. She didn't really get to do all the things she wanted. She regretted not doing certain things in life. And so I'm just I don't want women to feel that.
Yeah.
Or I don't want people to be well, I don't want to have a kid or I can't have a kid because they're concerned about certain things. If you don't want to, that's totally your decision.
Yes.
But I just want to support people so that you don't lose yourself. Yeah. You don't have to lose yourself in having kids. There's little things that we can do. Just big fuck you to the whole
Yeah.
bounce back.
Fuck you to that. I love that. I love that because you say that so well. You're right. It's how do we give ourselves without losing ourselves? And I think we get lost in that over the years. And I'm speaking on behalf of myself. That's all I know. But I've seen it. I've heard it. Even what you're saying today, there's so much that you're saying that I'm like, yes, oh my gosh, are you reading like my little diary right now? Because there is this expectation that society puts on us, the media puts on us. It does not help that all the Kardashian women look the way they do after babies. You start to get a bad understanding of what that means. And so it just, the whole having a kid thing becomes about everything but having a family and doing the thing that we all wanted to do. And it ends up being trying to impress people, or maybe we have sisters and friends that did bounce back, or at least it looked like that from the outside. Because, right, not everyone's sharing with us
we don't
what
know
that looked like.
The genetics of people.
Yeah.
Like, everyone looks different. Like, I've had clients who, first kid, they bounce back, they feel good, they feel stronger than they were, before being pregnant, in their pregnancy. Second kid comes around and they're like, oh my God, my stomach, like the stretch marks the second time around, looser skin and all this stuff. And it's like, well, yeah, it's just a different ball game. Like,
well, blow up a balloon.
Yeah. Like,
and then let the air out.
Yeah.
And now blow it up a second time.
Keep doing that over and over again.
Doesn't it get easier the second time to stretch it out? That is what my OB, Dr. Chow, that is what he told me. Because I was crying. By the second one, I was a couple months in, maybe not even, a few weeks in, and my father-in-law passed away.
Okay. And
so it was pretty sudden, and we had a 2.5-year-old, so my husband and I had to go to Prince Albert, Saskatchewan. And in that time, I had already gained. I was really bloated, and so I didn't even know what we were having. Like, we didn't even know our due date yet, but we were pregnant, and I was really bloated. And people were like, "Oh my gosh, you're already showing! You're already showing! Look at you might be carrying twins.
Commentary.
You must be carrying twins." I got asked that. I even got asked that by a woman in IKEA with my first one, and I yelled at her. But it's like, people are just trying to be nice. Like, they're just saying what they're saying. They don't realize it, but what that does for you. And when if you are in that pregnancy stage, and maybe before getting pregnant, if you really did care about your outward appearance and you took care of yourself, and now you're pregnant and you feel like shit because you literally are not eating, your hormones, all sorts of things are going on. That's hard to already deal with. And then when people are coming at you saying, you look like shit today, you're like...
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
Yeah,
like, I know.
Like, you know what? I know. Yeah. Honestly, thank you for telling... Right? So it's just funny sometimes when you look back at that and you're like, I get that person wasn't meaning it that way, but I hope I can get better at that, because we do that. We do that more than we like, where we say things to people. You look good. Have you lost weight?
Yeah, you're like, that's... okay.
Right? And so it's like, oh, fuck.
No, we're definitely been wired to, like, appearance matters so much more than anything else that makes a person. But totally, like, and I think it's, I've definitely had in the past, like, I don't have a lot of friends that have kids. I'm kind of the first one in the group.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But just, like, my aunts and not even uncles, I guess, but sometimes aunts, people will, like, rub someone's belly, like the pregnant belly.
Yeah.
You're like, did I give you permission
I did not
to
like
touch
that
my
either.
body?
Yeah. It's weird.
But no, people just think, look, I'm just being nice. It's like, well, you're not. Like, you need to ask. You have to ask permissions. And if you have certain thoughts in your head, just leave them there. Like, actually think about, how is this going to make this person feel? Yeah. Because you don't know what that person is.
Just ask.
Feeling.
Don't tell.
Yeah.
Ask me, and I'll just tell you myself I feel like shit.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then you can say what you want. And hopefully it's something along the lines of, well, you don't really look it. I'm sorry to hear that. All the things that we want to hear.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think you make such a good point. And really what you're doing, I can hear in your middle fingers up what you're doing, what your whole mission is. And I think it's lovely, because I know I could have used it in my time, and I know there's a lot of women out there that don't even know that this exists. and are doing it, you know, like I always say, the silent sufferers that work in the job and can only take so many sick days, so they're feeling like they're doing a half-assed job and then coming home and being half-assed at whatever they're doing. And that's one scenario based off of so many that cause people to isolate. And so to hear that you're trying to break that stigma and build a little bridge for people, I think that's lovely. Thank you. So I'm gonna give up my middle finger today and share it with you. So I'll also put my middle fingers up to this because I agree with you. Okay, so I was reading up about you on your Instagram, and you have a secret love for hip hop.
Yes.
And then I saw a little video where you were twerking in your video. You're about to do like a little. I love getting to know you, you know, my guests, and then I get to know you before you come. Like, she's hilarious, and you can twerk. So later on, you have to show me how to do that, because I can't do that. But I love that you said that you wanted to be a dancer.
Yeah, long time ago.
Okay, can we talk about that for a second before we get to the other stuff?
Sure. Yeah, I used to, I think junior high or whatever is kind of, I started doing dance. I did jazz and that kind of stuff. But hip hop's just always been a huge love of mine. Like, just that, I think I've my sister's partially to thank to that, because then being that 8 to 10 years older, and I was born in 88. So just like being exposed to that music, and you know, it started off with Bob Marley. My one sister was very into him, but just everything like Janet Jackson and TLC and just all the goods. And so I got into dance. I really loved hip hop, and just continued. I never like performed a lot with it. The earlier dancing that I did, jazz, I never did like ballet, but I did not like the vibe
of jazz.
The girls, just the like judgment, because you got to like walk across the floor and doing the whatever numbers, and I was just like, I don't like this vibe. Like, I don't like feeling like shit because I don't, you know, dance like you or look. Because
I don't have jazz hands
or whatever it was. But hip hop, I just really loved it. I did it as a university course at U of C.
Oh my gosh, they offered a course?
Yeah, I don't know if they still do. The lady that taught it, she now owns Pulse Studios here in Calgary.
Ooh.
I think her name's Tara. I cannot remember, but she's wonderful. But it was just learning the history of hip hop, you know, like all the DJs and everything, how it all started, the type of dance and Africa Bambaataa and like all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But for a brief period of time, like friends will tell you that I am a good dancer and stuff.
Oh, friends will, but you won't?
I am a good dancer, but it's just
You're being so modest.
I know.
Okay, so if you were going to choreograph a hip-hop song today,
oh God,
what song would it be to?
I don't know. That's a tough one.
I know, there's so many. Well, what comes to your mind?
Well, yesterday I was listening to, I actually think I just used it in a reel recently, Q-Tip's Vibrant Thing.
Oh yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, I remember those clubbing days.
I was dancing in my bathroom to that.
That's a really good one. Good for you. That's not one that many people would bring. That's awesome. I love that song. Yeah, we used to dance up on the stage to that one at the club.
Yeah, I know. I miss those days. They don't have that anymore.
No, they don't. I know. Probably because of people like us that fell off a few times, maybe hurt ourselves.
Yeah. We're on there for too long.
Yeah, I just always wanted to be one of those electric circus dancers, right? Yeah. So then when you go to the club, you're like, oh, this is like the Much Music Friday night thing. My parents would never let me watch it because the girls were in crop tops and sexy clothes, right? Mm-hmm. And so then it became forbidden. So we'd want to watch that. Yeah. And you're like, oh, I want to dance like them with their hands flailing. And so, so then but Vibrant Thing, that's a good one. That's a really good one. Yeah, I love it.
For a brief moment, I thought about like pursuing dancing a little bit more and competing with it. And I even looked at like the Pulse Studios. They have like dance groups, and I think they travel and perform and stuff that. But it's just it's harder. I think to actually like make it in the dance industry.
Fair. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I hear the same about the podcast industry. So you got a dream. Come over here and join the dream.
Excellent.
You never know. Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love dancing. Mm-hmm. I grew up in the Punjabi culture, and if you ever go to a reception party or a Punjabi party, the music, the DJ, everyone's dancing, and it doesn't matter who you are, how old you are, you're all on the dance floor. And so that was always a go-to. And then the Bollywood movies, right? Mm-hmm. You're like, oh, it's so romantic. And so that was already there, and I love dancing. But then, watching the music videos, I always wanted to be a VJ. And those music videos, you're right, like Janet Jackson, and even I was a teen when Britney came out. So when it became that pop, it wasn't hip hop as much; it was pop. Even that era was great, and like there's nothing better if you ever want to walk by my house and just wonder what I'm doing. You might look in my windows and see me in my living room dancing, because I have to look in a mirror, because you gotta get into it and do the lip sync. And I am dancing for this massive
audience.
Oh yeah, like imaginary audience. I love it. So when I read that, I was like, oh yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
that's great. Thank you, because no one admits that ever, that they love to dance. So I love
It's good for you. It's a good release.
Was that a cultural? Like, did you grow up in a culture that dancing was sort of part of that?
It was, but it was like Polish, like folklore dancing.
Oh yeah, so it's a different vibe.
I didn't do it actually. My sisters did.
Yeah.
Like they did that for a while. My one sister did like Ukrainian cultural dancing. Right. I think when I was like very small, like a toddler and stuff, I had done the like Polish dance group a little bit, but I just never got into that vibe. I was like, no, hip hop is my thing, and but yeah, it's you got to add like a beat to that, to get that going a just,
little,
to have really bad posture and dancing alone necessarily with
maybe
a partner.
You need to bring the two together. Maybe that's your next project. Too vibrant thing, and you have some like what would be the accordion? Is that like a big part of the
accordions are there. Yeah, some guitars and stuff like that. So
well, look at that. You never know. I'm always
could be a new thing.
Yeah, maybe I'd be happy to play the triangle or whatever small role. Backup dancer.
Tambourine.
Oh, okay. That's a hard one. I don't know if that would be easy. I was the worst. Like I would have to pretend to play the flute. Do you remember we had to do the recorder? The recorder.
Ooh,
yeah. My kid just got one, and I'm like, oh, I remember this. That cream colored recorder.
All the things they could.
Yeah. Why that? Why do you think? And they still do it.
Yeah.
Like my kid is learning the recorder and he's like, "Really, Mom? Do I really need to know this?" I don't even know how to argue against it. You're right. I don't know why you need to just pretend. Yeah. Just do what I did.
Yeah, just do your best.
Just not lip sync, but pretend to recorder sync.
Yeah.
Whatever, right? Yeah, just do that. So tell me a little bit about the Strong Mom Collective.
So the Strong Mom Collective is an online training service that I provide, and I use this app that's called True Coach. And so I create all the programming. So in the Strong Mom Collective, we've got moms that are in the 4th trimester, so those first 3 months after you have your baby. And then there's moms that are 4 to 12 months postpartum, and then 12 months and like beyond. So I have some clients who have like a 5-year-old. So it's not just that first year of postpartum.
Yeah.
So I have set it up into those 3 categories, and it's you just follow the workouts, the exercises, the movements. You follow along kind of at your own pace, because you can always go back to any like past workouts that you missed. It's all progress, so there is that it's going to become more challenging over time, which also means you're going to get stronger over time. You're going to start seeing those kind of results as well. But it entails not just the squats and the push-ups and things like that. Obviously, we work up to that kind of stuff. Right. We're not doing a lot of that in the 4th trimester. But it's pelvic floor work as well. And breathing. Are you engaging your core properly and that kind of stuff?
Right.
I also like to sprinkle in little love notes, like little show yourself grace reminders, just because it's like I've known before I had kids myself, seeing my clients and stuff and understanding what they're going through. I know there's the mental and emotional side to it. And then after having kids myself, I'm just like, there's a lot. Like the mental is sometimes even more important than the physical. So it's just to support you through that transition, to feel good physically, but because it's the collective, so we have a private group chat, like a Slack channel that I've created, where we can, like, you're more than welcome to be like, hey, moms, I'm going out for a walk to this park. Anyone want to come join me? Want to come meet up, bring your kids? So there's that.
Right.
Every other week we do like a virtual group movement session. So we might do like a little bit of strength stuff, whether it's like a core or glute circuit, but then we just do mobility and just chill. It's in the evening, so it's like a really nice thing to do right before bed, just to help you decompress from your day in a sense, and just to, as parents, as moms too, like as the default parent in a sense, like we're doing so much, and so to find moments of stillness or moments for yourself during the day is really hard, and so that's why we do like the bi-weekly kind of virtual check-in together. So yeah, it's just like a big group. We try and do meetups, once a month as well for people that do live in Calgary in the area. But it's just like a big group to support you through that transition.
What kind of feedback are you getting from the moms in this group?
For right now, it's been like smaller numbers just because I did just launch this last July, I believe, last summer. But yeah, they're really liking the fact that it is just kind of go at your own pace.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of really good feedback about like the little show yourself grace reminders. Like people have been like, okay, you're making me cry now. Like, just bringing it, the realness. I think that's what I try and do too. Is just keeping it honest. And so, yeah, they're loving the support.
Right. Yeah. Well, you're teaching the women, and if they're new moms, it's a balance between everything else and this baby, because the baby is always priority. So you kind of lose part of that. Like you said, earlier, we don't want to lose ourselves, but that ends up happening.
Yeah.
And for you to teach parents about self-compassion, I think that's lovely. That's forgotten or lost, and it often takes someone else that's sort of outside, the cheerleader, as you're saying, that's celebrating that and saying, okay, you showed up today, or the fact that you're even sharing this, or whatever piece that most people miss, because you always want to get to the end game.
Yeah.
So even the little classes you're talking about, I'm just picturing myself, the kind of person I would have been. I would have struggled, because my expectation would have been, this is not going to make me get skinny, and this isn't going to make me get fit in the way that I should, because before I used to do boot camp or whatever I used to do.
Right.
So you got to push me more. Do you get that kind of feedback? Like, is that, because I'm imagining that's not what you're promoting.
No, I don't care about your weight at all.
Thank you. Right? Yeah.
It's none of my business. And honestly, it's not going to make a difference on what you get done that day or how your child views you. They don't know mom has a weight, right? Like they don't, who cares? And so I definitely think for some people, it's hard to make themselves a priority. It's a lot, especially when, having clients that are back to work and that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, like it's definitely a challenge to make yourself a priority, or you don't think you're not doing enough. And so they try, like I have some clients who follow a workout program that I've made for them. And so I'm like, hey, use these weights. Like I have some clients who have like a full, like nice gym setup at home.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And so they'll do something different in the workouts that I have planned for them. I'm just like, okay, like, I don't know why you went up into like those crazy weights for that exercise. Like that's
right. That push.
Yeah. And so it's, your body best. Like that's what I truly believe. Your body best. If you do want to push it, okay. But I think it's like, I have put so much thought into these exercises and progressing them and making it make sense, that just trust the process. And I understand that can be difficult sometimes, but I don't know, when there's a workout, just follow the workout. Yeah. If you want to go on your bike after, if you want to do, a couple sets of heavy squats or deadlifts, go for it. If you're feeling up for it, if you feel like you have that energy. But yeah, like I have worked with a few or spoken with like a few pelvic floor physiotherapists. They've looked at the program. So, they think this is a great thing to have, and just to have that guidance. Like I'm taking all that decision fatigue from you.
Right. Yeah.
So that you don't have to think about, am I doing this right? Is this what I have to do? What do I have to do next? How do I know I'm getting stronger? Yeah. I've done that for you.
It's lovely. I trust people, like trainers, and I'm one of those students that does well when I have a teacher. So I go to a class because I trust you telling me what to do, because I don't have a threshold. So, and I think there's a lot of people out there that just think they have to keep going. And the more pain I'm in after a workout, the harder I worked out, and that mentality. And I was talking to a friend the other day about this, and she made a really good point. She's like, people have a tendency to believe their self-worth depends on productivity. So am I going to be a strong mom because I lost all my weight right away and I can fit into my clothes and I bounced back, my pre-baby, all these sorts of things, versus that's not the reality for many of us. And some people can, and that's great for them. But for many and that's genetics and stuff, but many of us take a lot longer to do that. And I think your process it can be really helpful. And I would imagine you probably see that a lot with what I'm talking about, people that show up with other people's expectations that they have to fulfill versus like, what are my own?
Yeah,
What's enough for me to do?
Exactly. Like I have had a client who someone, I can't remember if it was a trainer or someone that she was interacting with, and they were surprised by like how good she was with certain exercises or how heavy she was lifting, just because he made an assumption of her body type. You know, she's living in a bigger body. That's just sometimes what happens when you're pregnant, or just what happens.
Right.
But she was just like, I'm sick and tired of people making assumptions that I'm not strong or I can't do stuff just because of the way my body looks. And she's like, she doesn't struggle with like, oh, am I like, do I need to try harder? Do I need to lose weight? Like, she's like, no, fuck, like I'm good. Like I can do the day-to-day stuff. Right. And so, it's hard. It's definitely hard. Like I had said, what my middle fingers were going up to is just, it's all society pressures. Like, you do not need to look or feel or do things a certain way after a human comes out of your body. Like, you did it. Like, just take the time now.
You got the medal. You got this baby before you.
And just like Olympic athletes or any athletes, when they do a competition, when they do like an event, they have downtime. They rest. They recover. Like, why do we not do that or expect that from people who have children? Like, after someone delivers a baby.
It's such a good question. You're a newer mom. What do you think? Like, from your mom sort of hat, what would you say? Why?
Like, why is that pressure?
Like, why do you think we put that on ourselves? We know this. What you're saying, I know it.
Yeah.
But I can't tell you that I live that, though.
Yeah, that's true. And I think for the longest time, I've just been like, just do whatever feels good. Like, I feel strongest. I feel best. Like, I actually loved my body pregnant. I just loved. I felt that being pregnant, and then when I was deadlifting my heaviest is like the 2 times I have felt the sexiest, and I have felt so good about myself.
Yes.
And then, right now I do struggle. I have, more fat on my stomach. My skin is loose there, but I had 2 babies in me.
Yeah.
Like, my body is supposed to
like they came out at the same time. Like, that's a whole different,
like
that's like, it goes twins or triplets or however many, and then demon baby.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just like, and I have, being honest, I have definitely compared myself to other people, whether it's like other accounts I follow or moms that are in my class. I'm like, oh, my body doesn't look like theirs. I'm like, okay, I had twins. We have different genetics. We're different people. People have different supports. Like, some people do not have family here to watch their kids, so they can't go to the gym or they can't work out downstairs. People don't have the finances to be able to do certain things, to have a nanny, to do whatever. So
that's the other thing. It can cost a lot of money to keep up with the appearances. And I was recording a body image one recently, and some people's problem is keeping up with the Joneses. And for me, keeping up with the Joneses was my body. Like, I had to look. Yeah. Someone's fancy car would be my body having to look my flat tummy. And the whole contemplating the tummy tuck and all of that. And then the guilt of, well, gosh, like, do I deserve to put $15,000 on a tummy tuck? And then, like, what if I die in a car accident the next day? My family could have used, like, that guilt never goes away. Right. So you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. You can go get the surgery, you can go look a certain way, you can get fit and look a certain way. The guilt is still there because the pressures are still there. So it's, how do we learn to work with those pressures versus trying to fall into them or even deny that they're there? Because sometimes we don't even recognize that we're trying to have this perfect picture. And you're the first, you said, in your friend group. Yeah. And so your friends, maybe if some of them are planning on having kids or whatnot, like, they're probably looking up to you and your partner in some ways and watching as well. So you have eyes on you all the time as well, right? And so these things kind of build up.
I think, like, you're always going to want to, I don't know, I always, when people talk about like growth mindset and like always trying and achieving and goal setting, I think goal setting is good, and I think it's good to have a growth mindset. Like, always try to keep being better and trying something new. Right. But I also am just like, how about we just stay where we are and just enjoy what we have? Yeah. And just enjoy what you've accomplished. Enjoy, like, I actually just recently put up a reel on my Instagram about, we're always, especially when it comes to whole pregnancy and then postpartum. It's like we're so excited when we get pregnant, and some people it takes so long, and some people can't stay pregnant. So it's when we get there, we're like, fuck yes, this is happening. And then they're here, and there's all this excitement. And then we do start thinking about like, okay, when can I get back to my pre-baby body? When can like I get back to my, regular routine and all this stuff? And I'm just like, can we flip the script? Can we just acknowledge that this version of you right now is not going to be here forever? So just love this version, appreciate what this version can do, and acknowledge that just like right now, this is what you are doing. This is who you are. This is what your body looks like, kind of thing. Yeah. And just like accept it and love it. Yeah. And I know it's hard. I know that like I struggle with it. This is daily work for me. Yeah. But a lot of the time I'm honestly just like, fuck it. Like I feel good. I'm happy. I can play with my kids. Like
you're healthy.
I'm healthy for the most part. Like winning the lottery, right? Like and I think that's the other thing too. We get so caught up in, I don't look a certain way. I can't fit in this. And I have moms that come to. I also teach a in-person class, and so sometimes I'd be like, when it's really hard and this exercise, you're like, I don't know if I can do another rep, or you're like, I don't know if I want to go to class. Why don't you just take a second and realize that you should be grateful that you have this privilege, that you have access to this. You get to do this. That you get to, you don't have to do this. You get to do this.
I love that.
So, and I think when we can change the way we think about things, because people always say, I have no motivation, or like, I need to like, I don't know, figure things out, do something better, so that I execute things more, I'm more consistent. It's not like the actions that we need to change, it's actually our thoughts.
Right. Yeah.
Because how you view yourself, what you think about yourself and your value and all that kind of stuff. And also what you think about fitness, like how you view that is going to influence your actions.
Totally. Yeah.
And it's like, I think people who think, I've had clients and even friends who are just, working out is stupid. I don't need to do that kind of thing. And I'm like, it's not just about like being a meathead. Like, it's not just lifting heavy weights. It's like taking care of your body.
Totally. Yeah.
Because, and I've had friends who are older now, their kids are doing different activities, but they themselves are like, my body hurts, I can't keep up with my kids doing certain things. And I'm like,
yeah,
lifting weights could help with that,
well, yeah,
even just some simple thing.
But when we change that perspective, like you said, we rescript that, it does take a little bit of pressure off and opens the door to all these other things. So like you said, I'm working out. Why? I'm doing it to look like I'm healthy, or am I doing it to be healthy? And I think that's a strong message. And I think people like you and what you're doing and getting louder about it is going to be so helpful for so many more new parents, becoming parents, and post birth, because the more you can repeat that and get that out there, I think the more people can start to hear it. Because it's taken me however many years now, but when I hear you talk, even I'm like, I want to go there. I want to be there. And a little bit of what you're saying with the working out piece is, some of us are the all or nothing mentality. So I got to go hard or I'm never going to do it.
Oh, there's no point.
Yeah, like why am I going to go to the gym? I'm not going to look like J-Lo, so why am I going to do it?
No, because you're not J-Lo. J-Lo's J-Lo.
Thank you very much. But I'd like to say, but exactly, you're right. When we put that in our head and then we don't show up, or when we show up, we are trying to be whoever, in this case, is J-Lo. And then you start to realize, like, I recently started working out with a girlfriend. She's my place of working out shut down. She's got a little home gym as well.
Perfect.
And it's so lovely. I'm almost 10 years older than her. So she's getting really excited about working out again. I need a new way to work out. So I'm like, lifting weights. Like I did it. I didn't do it as consistent. I'll start this. But what I love with her is those little notes you're talking about, when we're together and the uplifting that happens. And we kill it when we're working out, but we also take breaks. We take a minute. We say, oh my gosh, you couldn't lift that last week. Look at you now. And what I love about it is what she's teaching me is it's not, I have to do 4 sets of this many. It's, we're going to do as many as we can of this, especially when it's a new activity. And so that's taken pressure off. I'm like, okay, now I am willing to try a chin up because I don't have to do 100. I just have to try one.
100%. Yeah.
And then I'll keep trying one until I can do maybe 2 one day.
Yeah.
Right. And that balance in between is what I hear a lot on your social about we're not broken. We don't need to be fixed. No. Where's the balance? It doesn't have to be all or nothing.
No, yeah, I hate the all or nothing mindset because in anything that we do, whether it's fitness, work, life, whatever, like you don't have to go big or go home.
Yeah.
There's little things you can do. If you can maintain like a moderate level of consistency, that's actually going to give you the best results. And that's what's nice for all my online training. And even like any in-person stuff I do, it's just do what you can. Like I tell clients, I'm like, set a timer for 10 minutes, start the workout. And when that timer's done, you don't want to continue, you're done for that workout or whatever, then stop.
Yeah.
Great. You did 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Check off what you did.
Yeah.
If you notice the timer goes off at 10 minutes and you're just going to keep going, awesome.
Great. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But so many people have a hard time being like, well, no, I got to finish it all. I got to get all my green check marks and I got to get that,
Yeah, I'm not doing enough. I got to do more.
Yeah, you're just like, you're doing plenty. Like
totally.
You're doing what you need to do right now for this version of you. And for me, after it's been 2 years, my kids are 2 years old now, and I definitely thought I would be in a different place. I don't really, like, I do care how my body looks like. Don't get me wrong. Like, when I was my fittest, my ass looked great. I had ripped arms because
twerking.
It's just the twerking. I rock climbed a lot, and so yeah, I don't think it's bad to look in the mirror and appreciate the way your body looks, but knowing that like that's not it. That's not the only thing that matters. And I think that's also why I was so driven to work with the perinatal population.
Yeah,
is because everyone else is like, I hate before and after photos, and like I was just like, it's just calmer. Like there's a lot of buzz about my body as to, my pre-baby body and all that kind of stuff, but it's just actually a nicer population to work with, honestly. And I just like the messaging around it more. And like it's do what you can in your workouts. Right. Try one squat, try one pull up. Like you don't have to
we don't
do
have to
it
get
all
the way,
and you don't have to be in pain after. Like that's actually not a great thing to be so sore, after workout that sitting on a toilet hurts. Like that's,
I mean, you gave birth.
Yeah.
If you did, you gave birth, and that was, in my mind, the only time that pain is a good thing, because something good's coming out of it. Yeah. Otherwise, pushing and pulling to this extreme is, and it's, I think also what I hear you saying is, okay, you are not sprinting your life marathon. You have to go at the pace. It is a journey. And so do you want to do this intensity with your body now, and it's going to impact you down the way, and you can't really do a whole lot? And that goes for the same as, do we not want to do anything at all? Because we do have to have some kind of movement. And there's a lot out there, and so much more now as we've gotten to know so much more about the brain, the link between mind and body. Yeah. So what do you think is the most challenging thing about making your mind and body a priority after a baby?
I think sometimes it's even, am I worth it? Like, am I worth that investment? Am I worth that time? I think in motherhood, we question ourselves. I do it all the time too. I'm like, did I do that right? Am I enough? Am I spending enough time with my kids? Am I teaching them enough? Did I make a good meal? Like all the questioning that we do. And
where do you think that comes from?
I think it comes maybe from our own experiences. Like, oh, my parents did that. And obviously it's not like our parents did the best they could. My parents were immigrant parents. And so they were working sometimes 2 to 3 jobs at a time, doing all these different things. A lot of my mom's side of my family that came over here, they were cleaning schools, cleaning buildings and stuff like that. And so it's not, they're doing the best they can. It's a physically demanding job too. And so I think we're kind of always comparing ourselves to like what our parents had done. And, there's lessons we for sure take from them. And there's things we're like, I don't want to do that. I want to be better at this.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think that also maybe just comes from like that growth mindset. Like, how can I be better? And it's also probably influenced by like all the BS that's out there. Like, your children need to have this. Like, you need to like cut their toast into pretty little stars so that they eat their meal. And you're like, no, you don't.
You've been on that Pinterest site too, then I take it.
Yeah, like there's definitely things that have come up on my Instagram.
That is not. I don't even know how to do that. There's some of those lunches. I make easy lunches for my kids, and it's like 100 cubes in this star bento box. And
you're like, no. Yeah. I've once used like cookie cutters to make pancakes for my kids just because I was feeling excited about it for them.
It's a good day.
But like they inhaled it, and so it's it's just hard. I think we're just trying to be the best parent that we can, being the best individual, being the best wife or partner. Like I get that. And then you just want to do good. But I also think it's like, just take a moment and acknowledge the good you are doing.
Yeah.
Like, forget about the past right now. Forget about the present. Just be here right now.
Right.
And that's another thing that I try with working with clients. It's just like, this moment right now is about you, whether it's 5 minutes or you're doing a 30-minute workout.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. Workouts do not have to be 60 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Like when my kids were, that 4-month regression happens and they're not sleeping long, they were sleeping that 30 minutes and stuff. I was doing workouts in my hallway and on my stairs just to be like, get it in. And then I could go shower and then, okay, they wake up and it's time to
done.
mom again.
Yeah,
right. So the kid doesn't have to be this crazy thing. You don't have to go to a gym. You don't have to have a beautiful gym. Like, there's lots you can do with just your body. But yeah, it breaks my heart when I do have clients that either in person or that I work with online. They're like, well, I just want to lose a couple more pounds. I want to do this, fit into this jeans. I want my body to look a certain way. And I don't want to devalue that because that's important to them. Okay. But I try and be gentle and educate them and just show them there's so many more special things about you than your body and how it looks.
Right.
It's like, I care more about what your body can do.
That's right.
Are you in pain playing on the floor with your kids? Let's solve that first versus you trying to get back into some old jeans that you could probably just go buy new ones.
Right. It's like a grief and loss.
It is, yeah.
You have a child and like you said earlier, people don't prepare everyone. Some of us really are shocked after the experience, like you had mentioned with one of your clients, I wasn't expecting this. And so in this shock, then you're trying to deal with whatever's coming at you and not really recognizing that you're in a new phase, you're in a different milestone. And so it hits in hard waves. Yeah. It hits when those jeans don't fit and you got to go to a fancy party. Yeah. It doesn't, it hits when you haven't slept for days and you're like, wow, I forgot I was wearing the same shirt for 6 days in a row. Maybe I should change this. It definitely hits when you don't feel your sexiest in the bedroom and you're telling your partner, you got to wait a little longer, buddy, or whatever that is. And so there's all sorts of things that get in the way of us stopping, like you said, being present and saying, what is this really about? That need for me to look a certain way, what is that about? And how is that serving me? Is it because I need to do it, or is it because, again, it's the pressures of me thinking other people are expecting this from me? Yeah. And even if they are expecting this from me, fuck them.
Yeah. That's the thing. And I think, too, sometimes people don't realize that, what they're saying, you're like, oh, I've had family members make comments about my weight or oh, you've really, gained weight here, or you're looking so much better. You should dress like this all the time. You're like, okay, that's a really weird thing to say, but sure, I'm just going to let that one go. So I think it's just the commentary people will give you, and maybe they're just actually trying to give you a compliment. Yeah. And I even now, I try so much more to not comment on people's appearance. Yeah.
I think that's good.
Or just finding something else oh my God, I love how you paired that with that. Or that lipstick looks so beautiful. Things like this, but not have you lost weight? You look so good after having a baby. And
I think that's such an important message for people out there that think their identity is connected to their outward appearance. Yeah. And I what would you want to tell those people in the work that you've been doing, and even your own recognitions and reflections as a mom?
I think that it's just we're so much more than our bodies. I always celebrate more what our bodies can accomplish than what my body can look like. And our bodies are supposed to change. You're not going to look 20 forever. Yeah. You're not supposed to look 20 forever. That's kind of weird, right?
That's the other thing,
and so when people are doing, you're seeing so much of the Botox and whatever else, and augmentations of every part of their body that I didn't even know could be augmented.
That's also interesting. Yes, I know. It's not just nose jobs anymore, Anna.
Yeah, no,
there's more to it.
There's a lot of jobs that you can have. But yeah, I'm your body Yeah, it's just hard. I've had some clients who, you know, have had like eating disorders and really struggled with that. And they know themselves, like they're in a better place now. And they're like, I can't be in a gym space. I'm not ready yet to be in a gym space. And so this isn't going to happen overnight. Like it takes so much work. But I think just slowly being more mindful, okay, what has my body done? Like, what do I love about it? Or if you need to focus on some physical things, fine. But like focus on more of what you can do with your body than what it looks like, because it doesn't, like, it truly does not matter. Like I care about what your body looks like when you're doing an exercise because I want form.
Right.
But it's like, I don't care about any other features of what it's looking like. And I think too, like how you had mentioned a little bit about grief and trauma, like birth can be extremely traumatic for people. A lot of the time it ends up being an emergency C-section. You do not plan for that. Or I have had clients, you know, like there's a lot of blood loss, or you know, doctors and nurses are asking you this question in labor and you're like, I don't fucking know what's the right answer. Like, what should I pick?
Right.
Like, do I do A? Do I do B? Like, or should, like that kind of stuff. And that's why I say, like, prepare as best as you can so that you know, or like talk with your partner. I had a doula, and before having a doula, or even, you know, early on in my career working with pregnant individuals, I was like, doulas just kind of seem like an overrated cheerleader. And then like I learned more about them, and then when I had one, I was like, get a doula, everyone. Like
it's an underrated cheerleader.
Just like even just the education we had. My husband was so grateful for it. Like I have nieces and nephews. I'm so comfortable around children. He's like, you put a baby in his arms. Now he's good because he's a dad. But before that,
two at once.
Yeah, you know, he was just kind of like, this is kind of weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the preparation a doula can help you with, so that in birth, in your labor, you know 2 other people have your back.
Yeah.
Because the doctors and nurses may not necessarily. Like, it totally depends.
Their job is to get the baby out safe.
Exactly.
That's all and that's fair.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But you have different, you know yourself in a different, when there's a line, I get that too, that you're like, okay, maybe I should. But I remember when I was having my first, and they would teach you how to tell you to do Kegels all the time. And I'm going to be honest, like, I don't really know if I ever known how to do Kegels, and I'm learning that now that I'm dealing with like pelvic floor specialists and stuff. Yep. And I also, side note, loved your butt clenching video because I was literally actually the day you and I had a phone call, I was at a a pelvic floor specialist appointment. And she was like, don't do Kegels. She's like, you are so stressed down there. You are constantly clenching your butt.
Most people are.
Because she's like, try to let go. And I was like, is this it? And it's like, you're shaking your ears. That's not helping you, right? So I appreciate you saying that. Jokes aside, just want to quickly go back to when I was talking to you about your butt clenching video. And you talk about the release. Yeah. So can we just talk a little bit about the pelvic floor and what that means?
Yeah. So with your pelvic floor, I think we sometimes forget that it's actually a group of muscles.
Yeah.
I think there's like 14 of them down there.
What?
Yeah. That's the thing.
I did not know, let alone forget.
So, there's a lot of muscles down there. And oftentimes in pregnancy, I think obviously it's changing now, the narrative, but our moms probably were told, Kegels, do your Kegels.
Yeah.
And sure, you can do Kegels, but it's like there's so much more to that instead of just holding your pee in. Like a lot of times that's what they'll say that contraction is.
Right.
But there's so much more to the contraction. And so if we're always told to do your Kegels, do the strength exercises, we're not actually getting the full range of motion, the full benefit of that exercise, because if your pelvic floor is tight and you're constantly doing Kegels, you're not actually contracting that much because it's so tight down there.
Right.
So I like to compare it to a bicep curl. So let's say you're doing your bicep curls, but you're only going back down to 90%, like 90-degree angle. You're not fully extending at the elbow. And so then I'm bicep curling so much, and I feel like, you know, I'm doing so much, I should be getting stronger. You're actually not using that full range of the muscle. So that's what happens with our pelvic floor. You need to be able to lengthen and relax those pelvic floor muscles so you get the full range of motion, so we get full functioning muscles. And so that's why with the pelvic floor, I like to think of the easiest go-to exercise is I envision my pelvic floor elevator. So the door is closed, so you're pulling in the muscles in from the sides, and then you're pulling the muscles up. So that's that elevator traveling up We go up to the 5th floor, hold. We go up to the 10th floor, see if we can get a little bit higher into that contraction.
How many floors are there here?
Just 10. 10's the highest.
Okay. I was like,
just 10.
This is a high rise.
You can hang out, check out the view, and then you go back to the 5th floor, and then lower back down to the main floor. And then I also want you to try to push down, but not push down, sorry. You try and get into the basement.
Okay.
So you're not bearing down here. You're not trying to apply more pressure to get into the basement. This is where that relaxation comes in. So best way is just to think of like your butt cheeks melting away. So, and also letting go your stomach. A lot of the time, because society wants us to have flat stomachs, we're sucking in.
Yes.
And that sucking in, that contraction all the time is actually bad for our pelvic floor as well. So being able to fully relax as well from that contraction is going to be beneficial for us.
I am blown away at the fact that you just told me to stop sucking my, because I do that all the time.
Yeah.
And if I do it, how many other women are, because you're right, we're constantly told to suck it in, suck it in, suck it in.
Yeah.
And I get when you're doing a workout exercise to protect your back and all that.
Yeah.
But apart from that, many of us do it all day long. And you're what you're saying is that actually is like not helpful at all.
Detrimental to your pelvic floor.
Right. What is it actually doing? If I'm sucking it in like that all day, what is that actually doing to?
Well, when you're sucking in too, like you're not actually using all your muscles. And if your muscles are constantly engaged, they're working too much. Like that's where that tension comes from.
Right.
And so if you don't know how to relax everything, your muscle can't function properly. And oftentimes if you're sucking in, you're not breathing correctly. So we're not using the diaphragm as much. We're maybe breathing more up into our chest and shoulders, creating more tension there. And so you want to think about, there's like many different types of breathing, but with my training with my clients, we do diaphragmatic breathing. So that's your like athletic breath. And even just doing diaphragmatic breathing on your own, that's an excellent exercise, and that's what I do with my clients in early postpartum. And then you have your belly breathing, so your relaxation breathing. That's where your stomach rises when you inhale, and then everything just drops and you relax on the exhales.
Okay.
And so being able to practice both those things, and that's like, and all the time you'll hear like, oh, you have an abdominal separation, or you're incontinent, you're peeing yourself, you have a prolapse. Yes, there's things you cannot be doing, but if you lock down your breathing, your core engagement, and like your posture, your alignment, you're going to be more successful at doing those exercises, your squats, your lunges, your push-ups, planks, and things like that. So you need to lock down that foundation first before getting into, the bigger movements, the compound movements, or back into running and things like that.
Well, and many of us do the latter first. We just get into it.
Yeah.
We don't work.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of people will get the green light at your 6-week checkup.
Yeah.
Which I actually think should be at like 10 weeks. Your 6-week checkup that should happen. Have it at 6.
Yeah.
And then let's have it again at 10 or even 12 weeks.
Right.
But a lot of time women will get that green light and they're like, okay, I'm going to go for a run. And then they're bleeding more. They're in pain. They're like, it's just.
Yeah.
So slow is fast is like, just always remember that when it comes to postpartum. And the thing is, your kids are a lot older. You can even think about that now. It's just like, okay, I'm going to try this now. I really, my end game is to get back to this fitness class or whatever. Let's build the foundation first. Let's build my endurance and my strength. And then let's see how that class goes or whatever.
Right. So, thank you for that. That was helpful. Thanks.
You're welcome.
When we were learning about having our first kid, and so the Kegels I couldn't do, and so I kept saying, I'm going to do mental Kegels. Like, I'm going to strengthen my mind, because I had watched women around me that had very distinct birth plans, and some of them, their birth plans involved not wanting to go to the hospital. Birth was happening at home, and a lot of those women ended up in the hospital. Emergency. It was pretty traumatic, and so I just said to myself, okay, like, I don't know what's going to happen, and my goal is to get this baby out the safest way, and so whatever way that happens, it'll happen. And it was just mentally prepping. But what I love that our instructor, I think she was a doula too, like we went to the parenting course, did, was help us shift the focus to the dads. So at that time, it was all dads and moms in the class. And we're talking today a lot about women and what we need. And you even just mentioned your doula was so helpful for your husband. And what I appreciate in that class was she had the dads do a wall sit. And then the moms, you know this exercise? Then the moms have to coach them through.
Right.
And they have to hold it for an extreme, you know, as long as right? So it's like, let's say a minute, which can be a very long time. And as soon as they want to stand up, or you have to keep saying, no, just breathe through it. And like 20 seconds in, I was like, listen, fuck this shit. You figure it out on your own. And what I loved about that was like, oh, okay, this isn't just about me having a baby. This is also about my partner who doesn't know what I'm going through and is watching me, trying to help me. And I have to understand, like, this is going to be hard for him because I couldn't even do a 30-second exercise with him.
Yeah, can you imagine being in a room and you're like, cool, my person is going to have another person come out of them. And like, they're experiencing everything. Yeah. And pains and stuff that you really cannot compare to anything. Like,
and words and things, right? Like your
stuff is coming out and like people are going in and it's just like
it's so true. And so while things happen and you're right, to have people in that room with you to be there with you or for you and support you along the way is great, but also for ourselves, if we're in the birthing experience, what is in that moment that we need to help us safely do this versus what I envisioned. And I think that becomes the beginning of many similar life lessons in parenthood, that what we envision when we hold this baby in our arms and they're going to be this amazing, the world's most famous scientist or whatever we want them to be. And then they don't become that, or, you know, we hate them by the age of 2. Then we like them again, then we hate them, right? We go back and forth. And I think we learn as we go. We don't recognize that. So it's these constant, you're kind of grieving a lot of phases along the way, right? Like you said, it doesn't get better, it just gets different. And when you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's so well said, because when you can look at things that way, you're like, oh, okay.
And I think viewing yourself that way, like you can be getting better, but it's like you're just different. Like it's just a different time. You're in a different phase. And I think, you know, because birth can be so traumatic, because things can happen, and whether it's something that happens to you or, you know, we were fortunate. We didn't have to spend any time in the NICU. I made it to 37 weeks with my good kids, and we went home the day after. But not being able to just have your child with you at home, I can't fathom that. Like, that's awful. And so there's also those traumas, and so you're grieving all that kind of stuff too. So your postpartum recovery, like, I'm very aware this is not just a fitness thing. It's not just about feeling strong in your body, making sure you're not pissing yourself and that, you know, you don't have a prolapse. Like, it's also, there's a huge mental side to it. And so I also try and bring people back to that, to be like, you dealt with this, so like, give yourself time. Grieve, feel what you need to feel. Go for a walk. Like, do what you need to do. And so that's why with, like, the Strong Mom Collective, I've programmed it so that, you know, there's a little bit of everything. There's the workouts. Some people get everything done. Some people are like, I include, like, active rest days.
Oh, yeah.
So we have, like, go for a walk. For example, in the 4th trimester, I have you, like, baby carry around your house, like, just building up that endurance. So whether you're holding your baby and they're in a carrier. But some people just want to do active rest days. So they have some walking, there's some breathing exercises, pelvic floor relaxing stuff. Sometimes, like, that's just more what they want to be doing, what they can be doing. And so, like, I think you need to remember that it's not just a physical game. It's a whole mental game. It's emotional. It's yours and your partner's. Like, parenthood is, like, just teaches you need to prepare. Like, you need to prepare, and you need to have conversations. You need to check in with yourself.
And you need to take care.
Partner.
I loved a therapist I was on. She said, I'm taking care of my son's mother. And it's really what I hear you saying too. Like, these are the things that you got to look out for, and also advocate for yourself, because I don't really know what it's like today, but I remember, I think I may have had postpartum after my first. And if I didn't have that, I definitely had something, because it was a first and it was all sorts of stuff. But I remember the health nurse, and I went to go get my son's vaccine. Her back was to me when she asked if I was experiencing or exhibiting any postpartum symptoms. And my husband wasn't there that day to also say maybe she is or what. So I shut down before I even opened up, because you're asking me something with your back to me. And I did want to go and ask her questions, but I was like, no, obviously she's busy, like, screw it. And I just think if we can hold some more space for these conversations, because that postpartum, like, can we talk a little bit about what is postpartum? What is postpartum depression? And I know I'm going to do this. I have to do this. I ask 10 questions in one. Okay. Maybe I'm learning. I'm also growing. So why don't I just stick with the 2 and then I'll ask you the other ones. So let's talk a little bit about postpartum.
Yeah. So I myself had postpartum anxiety.
Okay.
Like, honestly, I thought about leaving. Like, it was just like, because this was all in the pandemic. So
you had your babies during COVID too. Yes.
So I was pregnant during COVID. And then, I was fortunate that, like, my husband could be in the room and my doula was able to be in the room, because for some people they didn't have that. But yeah, there was things I didn't have access to. I couldn't go. There was no mom groups I was going to. Like, maybe there was something, meeting in a parking lot and stuff like that. But I'm like, I have twins. I don't want to go into a parking lot right now. Yeah. Like, I like to go and be comfortable somewhere.
Yeah, I'll just go to the park.
Yeah, or just stay home, because, and I struggled with just, like, everything felt like so much effort, and I was anxious about, can I get out of the house with 2 kids by myself successfully, and, like, all this kind of stuff. So
seriously.
I think, even with one, like, it's intimidating. You're like, are we going to make it? Is someone
those car seats were heavy.
They're heavy, and just the amount of stuff you have to bring. And you're like, are you going to take the bottle this time or not? Are you going to latch? Like, there's so many
Last time my kid shit himself all the way up, his little onesie. Do I need 10 outfits to bring? Exactly. Now I have multiple, but it's just, and how do you prepare to go out for an hour? It's crazy.
Exactly. And when it's, like, cold outside and you're, like, changing them in the back of your car or what, there's so many things. But, so with postpartum, I can't remember right now the exact separate definitions, but you have, like, the baby blues, which is normal.
You're right. Yes.
And then obviously postpartum anxiety and postpartum depression is it's that much heavier, I think, and I think AHS does offer, I don't know when it has started, but you kind of get 10 free mental health sessions, like with a counselor through the health services program.
This is Alberta Health Services here in Alberta. So they're probably equivalent for folks that are listening outside of here in wherever they are, that they could look that up. They could Google that or whatnot.
Like I needed a referral from my doctor. And so you get up to 10 sessions. You may not use them, but you can use them within your first year postpartum. And what's great is they do it for partners too. So I had my husband do it as well, because I'm just like, you need to do this as well. Because I think we may not want to share things right away. And it is, just to get an outside perspective on stuff. But yeah, I think, like how you have said, you kind of didn't bring anything up with that nurse. I think because it is normal, it does happen. Everyone experiences this or some form of it, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's right. Right. And I think that's why we could be doing so much better is, like even just, I've had, people share their experiences, their birth experiences, labor experiences, and it's just like not great. Like the nurses and doctors that were in my delivery room had told me that the way that I wanted to push was not right, that the way I wanted to breathe was not right. And I was just like, I had an epidural, and so I wasn't really all there, and also you're not really all there because you're pushing a human out of you.
And so you can't really feel anything either, right?
Yeah,
at that
it's just
point.
A lot of pressure. Yeah. But I was just like, I do this for a living. I've worked with a pelvic floor physio. Like, I'm pretty sure I fucking know what I'm talking about.
I know how to unclench my butt.
Yeah, like, you probably are clenching so hard right now. And I'm not. Yeah. Or I think I'm not, because I can't feel my ass because of the epidural. But yeah, so I think it's just based on what can happen prenatally, during your birth, and then after. It can be so traumatic, and so you're going to grieve it differently. Yeah. And maybe people turn to the physical, the fitness, the exercises to be like, maybe this is something I control. Like, I can get back to my pre-baby body. So, like, push myself into that. And
exercise can help us mentally, too. So sometimes when that is working, that's the constant go-to. And
do it. If it works for you, if you're enjoying it, then 100%, like, do the workouts. But I think also remembering, don't overdo it.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah, like, I've had clients who, maybe even have, like, no symptoms. Or some people are like, no, I think my pelvic floor's fine. Or I had a C-section. I don't need to see a pelvic floor physio. And I'm like, go see a pelvic floor physio. Like, here's 4. I always refer people out.
Thank you for doing that.
Because it's just like, you don't know. Like, I didn't know, right? Mm-hmm. And then you don't always have to have the internal exam, but, they can for sure tell you what's going on. But But sometimes people may not have symptoms, or they've handled them in that first little bit, and then you start doing more exercises.
Right.
And maybe you're like, I'm going to try go for a run. And then like you're peeing yourself again.
Yeah.
Or maybe some of your prolapse is gone. You feel heaviness.
Right.
Maybe you start bleeding again because you did stuff too soon.
Yes.
So it's just, that's why I always say slow is fast with postpartum recovery. You can always do more. You can't always do less. Like sometimes when you've overdone it, it's harder to get back and recover.
Oh,
and
totally.
So
yeah.
why would you want to prolong that recovery, make it that much more harder? Versus just do little bits here and there.
You're right. I think with the pelvic floor, because you can't always feel what's happening, that's the tricky part with thinking you're okay. And okay, whatever, if I pee a little, it's not a big, like there's things that I did to trick myself and I didn't realize I was tricking myself. I was like, I'm fine, because I remember my best friend, who I said is a doula, after I had my first, she had said to me, have you seen like a pelvic floor specialist? Like, what is that? And I'm totally fine. Like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Kieran, you need to go, blah, blah, blah. And I never went. And then 10 years later, I started to have a prolapse. All these sorts of things are happening. And so I'm working with, like I said, I'm working about it. But I now, because my girlfriend was on me for years and I wish I had listened to her. So now my advice, when you go to baby showers and they're like, write something nice in there. I'm like, go check out your pelvic floor post-birth. Like, that's my advice now. It's just do it, because it's something that I wish I had done it, because what I'm dealing with now is kind of unnecessary in some ways. Like, knowing that I could have prevented some of this stuff too.
Yeah.
And some of those exercises, those of us that can get so quote unquote obsessive over needing to exercise and all that, some of those exercises we're doing, they're not good for us. They're affecting that as well. And so maybe it's not the right time. Maybe I could have done that 2 years later or whatnot. And so, like you said, it's a progression.
Yeah.
And it's all or nothing, baby. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's so hard to pause and see the transitions that we go
hard.
through.
I think people, because we always want that quick fix. We always want to see the results right away. And it's like, that's not life. Like, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Like, you're not a muffin. Like, you're not.
I have a muffin top, though.
Yeah, exactly.
A pretty nice looking one over here.
That's awesome. But it's just like, there's no fucking quick fixes. Like, you have to do the work. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And there's days, when I'm just like, I don't want to keep doing this certain thing, or whether it's like with parenting, I've been at home, like trying to myself just like cook dinners, kind of set it up. I do 4 nights. My husband does 3. And like, I've been pretty proud of myself. Been doing it for 2-ish months now. But there's just some nights where I'm just like, I just don't want to do this anymore. I want someone else to cook and someone else to do the dishes after, and convince my kids. Like, they're pretty good eaters. It comes and goes. But I get it. Putting in the effort and doing the work is hard sometimes,
Yeah.
And you just want a break. And that's why it's like, then take a break. And all my programming, I always have a deload week where it's like, do less. So you do deload. Yeah. So you have like, we usually do the same workouts, but maybe we'll just have 2 sets instead of 3 sets of something. You're doing less weight. The workout is shorter. Have a freaking nap that week. Like, stuff
People
like that.
People can use naps for sure.
Book yourself a massage that week, like make it more special, because we can't always be go, go, go. And that's where I think, like, we can't always be growing. Sometimes we just have to, like, just be. Yeah. Just be present.
And that's okay.
And that's totally fine. Yeah. And I think that's beneficial for you. Like, I have clients one client right now that she reached out to me because she was like, I was doing pretty good. I was consistent, but I was doing, like, 10 days in a row. And I was like, yo, nobody needs to be doing 10 days in a row of workouts. Like, do like every other day, or do 2 days in a row, take a rest day. And so, like, she was doing so much, she like has back pain now because of overdoing it.
That's the problem. Now you have to figure out how to manage that. Yeah, exactly.
But you can't do as much. And so that's also where that all or nothing mindset comes in. It's just like, just do a little bit, and you'll get back to it. And that's something I have to remind myself too, is that my time will come. The things I want to be doing, I can do them.
Yeah,
like, I know I'm capable of it. I know I have the strength. It's just right now my kids need me, or right now I need to focus on something a little bit different. And I think that can be applied to so many things. I think the same way when it comes to my business. Like, it's just like, I can't be doing it all. Like, I can't have beautiful reels and content all the time and be doing podcasts or whatever else I need to be doing. Yeah. And so it's just like, I just do what I can now.
Totally. Yeah. And it's so much what you're doing. That's the thing.
Yeah. And that's the other thing.
Like, I love hearing that from you. And that's also good advice, because you and I talked a little bit about that beforehand, about I look up to how you hold your account and how you do all that, because I'm just learning and figuring it out. And you were great at saying, why are you doing this? Don't get caught up in all the other things because there's so much that I could be doing, that we all could be doing, right? Yeah. And it's whatever our job is, whatever it is that makes us passionate about things, why am I doing that? And can I stick with that? Like you said, I don't have to constantly be getting better. It'll happen as it happens naturally.
You're always getting better. You're always going to be learning something different. And I think with motherhood too, like with every season of motherhood that we're in, okay, this is a new challenge, right? Like, I remember the first year, just like all the sleep regressions you go through.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God, okay, we got to do this again, like, or whatever.
Like, the brain fog.
Yeah.
Like that's a real thing. That didn't just come up during COVID.
No.
Like, those of us have had babies, we experience that. I remember my boss telling me when my second one, I'd come back from mat leave and he was probably about 2, maybe a little bit older. She's like, oh, I feel like Kieran's back. The brain fog's gone. And on one hand, I really appreciated that because that felt good. But then there was a lot of pressure because it doesn't just go away. Like, it kind of ebbs and
flows. I think that's
you don't always sleep.
No, exactly. Like, they're going to be sick, and so they're going to sleep with you.
My son was sick last night, and I was like, oh, great. I have this recording tomorrow, and we're up till 1 in the morning because he's not feeling good. Yeah. And I'm like, well, it's Anna. She'll get it if I have to cancel. Yeah. Like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen versus stress? Like, I need to take care of him instead of stressing 100%. Over what I'm going to, right? It's just reshifting those priorities at times. And the more I hear you talk, the more I hear you say, that's okay. That is important, right? It's like you said, we don't have to constantly be moving in the sense of growing, but I think we are growing when we do take a minute and say, actually, I don't need to do all of that. Yeah. I had a friend tell me over Christmas, she was visiting and we were going to it was a short visit. We were going to jam pack a bunch of things together. And we did a recording, and sometimes it can be really emotionally draining, depending on what you're talking about. And so we were done, but I was tired, but I was like ready to go. And she was so good at saying, I think we should just stay in. Like, I think it's okay. What we did was good. We'll get more out of just sitting on the couch and chatting. Yeah. And I love that she role modeled that, because I would have wanted that, but I would have thought that we have to go. Yeah, mom's night out. We got to go. Right. Go do all that stuff. Yeah, and sometimes you just don't have the energy to keep. And again, that's grieving something, because that is something that maybe you once used to do, or that is sort of how your relationship with this person was. But we're at different paces throughout life. And
and I think, grieving the person you were before having kids, like, I used to do this, or, women who don't go back to work or whatever, at least not right away. I think it's normal to grieve that person, and just like remembering her and them and how important they were and how amazing they were, and just like taking from, certain things you loved about that person, taking that with you moving forward. I think, motherhood has been a wild ride, but it also has taught me so much about myself. And it's been just because of the therapy also, like, I'm in counseling. And
what do you know about yourself now as a mom that you didn't know about yourself before?
I think what had surprised me was, like, it's a negative thing, is that, like, I had rage. Like, when there was no sleep happening, I was like, whoa, this is a dark side of Anna.
You had never experienced a side of you before?
No.
Wow, a different you came out.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. And it's just, nobody was sleeping, so it was not a good place.
Right.
Sleep deprivation is a form of torture for a reason. And
yes.
So I think, like, that was one thing that I just was like, holy crap, like, I've never just reacted like this kind of thing. And, like, there's just like yelling and crying. I would just, like, leave the children safely in a room kind of thing, and just be like, I need a second, I need to catch my breath and whatever. But I'm getting so much better at, like, catching bad habits in a way, and just being like, okay, like, slow down, let's rewind, do this differently. I think it's a little bit of, like, what kind of parent do I want to be for my kids? What kind of parent did I not have that I want to be better for my kids? So yeah, and I think you're just so much more self-aware, I think, just because we want to be better parents. We don't want to, we're going to do something that's going to mess up our children in some way. Like, I think it's unavoidable. We are human. And I think that's another thing about, like, you're going to mess up, and that's okay too. Like, you have to, so that we learn lessons. We can't be perfect. We can't nail it right every single time. Yeah. Because, like, that growth we want, we're never going to get that.
Well, and that's not the reality of what's happening. No. So we can try to go that route, and I guess good luck to us, because those of us that have tried that know it doesn't. It's like there's a fork in the road, up ahead.
Or what if you're struggling on your own? Like, why? Yeah. Like, get the help. Like, talk to someone, ask for help, get the support.
That is being so brave, and I wish I had.
Which is scary, but
right. And I wish I had believed that when people would tell me that it is very brave to ask for this. It's what you think you're doing by being brave when you're silent is actually the opposite of what's happening. Yeah. And so how do you be brave? By sharing with someone, I'm not doing well today. Yeah. And sometimes I think for people, it's also understanding when you do that. And maybe that helps people recognize when you do that, if you don't want to do it for you, you're doing it for that other person too. Because for another mom to hear that you're not having a good day today, it's like, anytime Carrie and I, my husband and I, hear other parents say their kids suck at something, we're like, thank you. It's not just us.
I call mine little jerk stores. There's just days you're like, I know they don't mean it, but you're just like, why are you just being an asshole right now? Like, can you please make it a little easier for mom
that's because you see your worst qualities first in your kids. You know why they're being a little ass, because you're like, oh, that's me. Yeah. Or your husband, whoever, but it's one of you.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's definitely, because that's the kids. They it's all learned behaviors, right? And so it's just the environment they're in, what they're exposed to. And I think that's another reason why we, don't just focus on what your body looks like. And so how do you talk to yourself about your body? Like, how would you feel if you hered your child saying that about themselves? Yeah. Right? I think that's always, that really puts it in perspective.
That really does, yeah.
And so you're just like, oh, right. Like, don't trash talk yourself. And yeah, it's hard. It's super hard. It's a lot of work. But that's why with the work that I do, like, I want to help. I want to take some of that load off and support you through this really huge transition in life to becoming a parent. So you're helping people create a village. And what are some ways that family and friends can help be that village around new parents? What are some things that you've seen go really well? And what are some things that you would caution against? Definitely. Like, I think a big one, especially in the beginning, is that we found it super helpful, and then I would have loved it again at even like 6 months. But like bringing food and like the freezer meals, doing meal trains. I try and do it for like any friends that I've had kids. We always set that up for them. Yeah. If there's like an older kid, coming over to spend time with that older kid, so they also feel special, because that's also a big dynamic.
They're going through a grief and loss too.
Exactly, right? Yeah, and I think as parents, you're like, oh crap, are we doing enough for them? Are we spending enough time for them? But just supporting, creating that opportunity, that time for you as the mother or the dad, or even, together, to like go do what you need to go do. Like, go have a shower, go do a workout, I can come hang out. Like, that's been helpful for us. Like, my parents and my in-laws, they come and watch the kids and stuff. And so, from time to time, my mother-in-law or my mom and dad too will be like, do you guys want to go out for coffee? Do you want to go for beer? Like, we'll come watch the kids. Yeah. So I think supporting that, don't really maybe give advice, I would say. Like,
it's so hard, hey?
It's so hard.
When you know everything?
Yeah.
How can you not share your wisdom?
Everything. They're so good at it.
My sister and I had a rule where our rule was pick one or two people that are your go-to for advice, and everyone else just do the thank you for that, but just like be kind, but delete it. Like, don't exactly. But when maybe your mom or your sister or someone, your best friend gives you that, you're like, that's what I want to hear. Exactly. Because it's exhausting and terrifying to hear all these people tell you. And the classic, well, it wasn't that way with my kids. So I can like, oh, I can finally say that. I have cousins that are just having babies. So I can be like, finally, oh, my kids weren't like that. Yeah. Can't even get it out without laughing, because are like, okay.
It sounds silly. You're
it's
like,
so
cool.
silly. Yeah. Like,
great. Thanks for sharing.
Useless information again. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But I think, just having, like you say, like people that are your go-tos, or even just being like, I don't really want advice. I just want you to listen to me. I just want to get this off my chest kind of thing.
Hold the space for me right now.
Yeah,
I got shit to say.
Yeah. But I think, supporting people with like providing them time, providing them, I'll take this kid, I'll take your dog for a walk. Like, I think that's a big one.
Right.
Just to help those people, that mom, the dad, or whoever, everyone, just to have the opportunity to like, okay, I'm going to put some time into me right now. I'm going to go shower. I'm going to go nap. I'm going to go for a walk and grab a coffee. And so whatever it is they need, just to kind of like reset and fill up their cup a little bit. And that's the thing. It doesn't have to be these huge grand gestures.
No.
It can be something small.
But it's like the North American way is to do it on your own and don't ask for help. Yeah. So it's I can see why it becomes so hard to invite that help or ask for it. And it is lovely when you can enter like one of those baby classes. I call it baby training, but those baby training classes or a group, because then if you don't feel comfortable with family or what, at least you have these people that are going through the exact same thing, the exact same time as you. And sometimes that can be helpful as well to suffer together and or know that mom's up at 4 a.m. as well feeding the baby. Totally. So, hey, what's up? What music videos are we downloading or whatever, right? Yeah. It just so that, you can get out. I think you had said it earlier, like, how do we get outside of ourselves? Sometimes we can become so insular and get so stuck in our head about whether it's your job and your business and am I doing all the things or as a mom or dad. Yeah. And so what about for partners? Like, what are some things that you feel either have experienced to be helpful or have seen other clients talk and share about being helpful? What are some things, if there's partners listening today, that let's bring their voice up. What are some things they may struggle with? And then maybe we can after get into what are some things that they can be helpful with as well. Yeah,
I think like partners will struggle with the fact that, the birthing parent, the mom, is doing a lot of the stuff. Just like, especially if she's breastfeeding, if she chose to breastfeed, she's doing a lot of the work. And so sometimes I can understand they may feel like, I don't know what to do. I feel kind of useless kind of thing. Right. But I think for sure in that early postpartum, it's like, keep the water and the snacks coming. Like, don't wait until she asks you for something. Like, just have the food coming because she needs to keep eating, especially if she's breastfeeding. Right. So to keep just nurturing her with food. And then, be like, yo, I can, if the baby takes a bottle, I know every situation is different, but I will feed them. I'll rock them to sleep. I'll go take them for a walk. Like, being proactive in offering that person, the birthing parent, an opportunity to rest themselves or do what they need to do to feel better. Like, don't wait for them to ask, because like you say, it's hard to ask for help. I have done it too. I don't want to be inconvenienced or totally. My husband, when he went back to work after the kids were born, he's an electrician, so it's a physically demanding job, and he's working early in the morning, 7 to 3 kind of stuff. That doesn't mean I'm not tired. That doesn't mean that I'm not working hard. I also need to have energy for during the day. I want to feel good as well. And so, but oftentimes, I would just be waking up at night doing everything. Right. In the beginning, it was just like, no, like, I feed them, you rock one to sleep, I'll rock the other one to sleep or whatever. Yeah, because you had
twins. How did they get up at the same time?
I would, So in the beginning, for like about 3-ish months or whatever, I would tandem breastfeed them. Yeah. So just like football holds with the breastfeeding
and you breastfed too.
Yeah. Wow. And so it was...
Kudos to you, man.
Just so much food, so much eating.
Oh, I bet. I bet for you and them.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. But so we would breastfeed at the same time, and then he would take one burp and rock. I would have the other one burp and rock, and then like that would be in the middle of the night. And in the day is a little bit easier, especially like, up until 4 months, they just could sleep anywhere. So it was great. But so it's definitely hard to ask for help. So I always think like, just be proactive, just do the thing and just be like, what could I do for you? Yeah. Or just even be like, hey, do you want me to make this? Do you want me to make that? Like, don't like say that you're just going to cook. Don't give her the option of like, do you want me to cook for you? Because then she might be like, oh no,
it's
I'll
okay.
Be fine.
Yeah.
I'll just have whatever.
So true.
It's like, no, like you want A or B? Like, here's what I'm going to make for you.
It's like what we do with little children.
Exactly.
But when you can't make those decisions and you're at capacity, it's so helpful to have someone sort of, okay, here, we're going to hone in on these 2 things, like you're saying. Yeah. Which is it? Yeah, that can be really helpful.
And I think being better at checking in with each other. Like my husband and I, we've, struggled with just being connected, and then also the balance of like, the duties. Like I think I recently read stats somewhere, I can't remember where, but like 85% of like all the work done around the house is still on
the women,
the mother figure. And so I think, we've started doing, it's like a team meeting we do once a month.
Okay.
And it's like, we talk about, okay, this previous month, what went well, professionally, but also in your relationship. What are you proud of that you did? What do you wish that you did better? What was one thing that you saw me do that like you loved that I did, or that you're proud of for me, or whatever, like things like that. Yeah. And then you talk about the future. What are we like, okay, what do you need? What are you accomplishing this month? What tasks do you have for work? What do you want to accomplish? Is there anything you want to do? What's our like date night plan or whatever, things like that. Yeah. Just because, and it just feels nice to actually check in, because you can just be passing ships in the night sometimes.
Totally, yes.
And you're
in the
just
same
like,
house.
Yes, exactly. And you have no idea. And like, we've done that before, and like, we still do it sometimes. You're just like, you don't want to be touched anymore. You don't want to be talked to as a mom and stuff when you're doing that all day. And so you're just like, you zone out. I've done it. I zone out. I go watch TV or whatever.
Yeah. I don't want to scratch your back.
Yeah.
Like I already took care of the kids. I don't want to do any. I want to watch this stupid show over here.
I just need to
stare
shut
at a
my brain
wall.
off. Yeah. And for me, sometimes I get work done in the evenings. Like that's my time to work.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just the kids are not in daycare yet, and so it's a little bit more challenging for me. And so I also feel like he does want to maybe spend time with me, but then I'm trying to get work done. So it's balancing it all. But having this team meeting, you're like, okay, let's touch base. Do it as often as you need. But I think as the partner, if you can be like, hey, how's it going? Let's talk. And like, come with actual questions. Don't just be like, how are you doing? Yeah. Like, that's just so
I'm fine.
Bleh. Like, you need to get to the details of it, make it easier for that person to answer. And it just be caring and being proactive about it.
Well, what I like about what you're saying too is that you have sort of set these little benchmarks for the month, so it can help you be more present too. You're looking for the nice things that your partner's doing, because you want to be able to go back and talk about that at the end of the month. Or you're looking at your schedule and thinking because now you're reflecting and you're thinking, yeah, that's interesting, Anna said last week this thing came up, or last month maybe I need to pay attention to not going out of town this month, or whatever it is, right? Just looking at that, because then you can build off of that, and you're already going to have crappy nights in between with each other, with yourself, with kids, but at least you have this little structure, something to come back to. And I think if there's two of you, some people are doing this on their own. So that's a whole different kudos and oh my goodness, right?
I don't know,
Those of us that have been fortunate to do it together, you're really sharing the load. And isn't that why we got together, and you're in a relationship to share that load together?
And you may have moments where you're like, I hate you so much today.
Well, yeah, that's different.
Right?
Is that a part of the agenda? On a scale from 1 to 10.
I hated when you did that.
But let's talk about the juicy things. Okay, what else comes up? What are the frequent complaints or the frequent things that come up?
I think we've only just started doing this for us, but I think I don't know if he'll be listening to this podcast. But
I hope so.
He's aware that he likes to play video games, and so that is something that it's not as bad anymore. And it got bad during the pandemic just because that was how he could connect with his buddies. Like, I get it. That's how we could talk. That's how we could hang out. And so, but yeah, I just find him just going to that a lot of the time and just checking out I didn't like. And so it's hard too, because I check out with the TV. So it's having these conversations can help you, be accountable yourself too. Like, your partner can call you out on stuff. But also when they say like the things where it's like, you did X, Y, and Z and that made me love you, or like, I love that you did that. I think also just hearing other people say things they notice about you. Like at an old job I used to have, we did this activity where like we had written down, I think there's certain questions, but like how we view ourselves. And then we had people answer those same questions about us, and like how they view you. And you're like, whoa, okay. Like, it's fucked up how negatively we can think about ourselves sometimes.
I'm never doing enough. I'm not good enough. And other people are like, you're the best colleague ever.
And you're so good at this and you're amazing at that. And I always refer people to you about this and this and this. And
yeah, we are our biggest, negative self-talk.
It's the worst.
It is. How do you get out of that? How do you not go there?
I've started doing more journaling and stuff like that. And just like being like, what am I grateful for? What am I good at? And just, like I really take a minute just to be like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And I honestly, like, I've had thought, that there have been times where I've thought that I'm not being a good mom and stuff, like in those dark days where there wasn't a lot of sleep happening. But maybe kind of weird to say, but I'm like, I don't think I am a bad mom. I think I'm a really fucking great mom.
Yeah.
And like, I'm doing the best I freaking can. And my kids love me. Like, and so maybe that's not a normal thing to say, but I think like, just toot your own horn.
Yeah.
100%.
So be your own cheerleader.
Yeah.
That's right.
I have even like a calendar that I use for work. And at the bottom it says like, what are you grateful for? What are you anxious about this week? Like, maybe even like, what are you going to do about it? Or what are you going to do differently this week? And so I think it's hard because there's so many things we have to keep doing. But if you can do a little like check in with yourself, a little accountability, have 3 things, the same questions. It doesn't have to be every week. Do it when you remember, whatever. Make it work for you. But I think, we just need to like actually celebrate more of what we're able to do, and just like be grateful that we're able to do it.
Totally. And not to go back to the body, because I really do appreciate what you're saying. How do we have conversation outside of that? Literally outside of your body.
Yeah.
And I was doing a body image conversation the other day, and this is what my guest and I were talking a lot about too. And it's interesting that you mentioned you journal, because I'd asked them too, how do you get out of negative self-talk? And they're like, gratitude. I write 3 things down. I've just started this. And so they do these things. So I think there's something there for sure. Right?
I think some people think like I know there's been like gratitude journals and everything. It's like, you don't need to go out and get a gratitude journal. Like some people are like, oh, it's so cliche. It's like,
my husband has a gratitude rock.
But it actually works.
Yeah. Right. Just a piece of paper or wherever you want,
Put a reminder. Like I have a pelvic floor reminder in my calendar every night, 7:40 p.m. I get an alarm that goes off. And even if it's just like a minute of me doing some pelvic floor, either release or strengthening, you can do the same thing for gratitude. Just be like, hey, one thing I'm grateful for, and whatever else you want to be, I think it's just to ground ourselves.
Totally. Yep.
And take us out of the rat race sometimes that we're in.
And like you said, get our head out of our ass. Well, you didn't say that, I'll say. Get our heads out of our asses sometimes. I think when I am so self-involved, it's because my head is so far up my own ass. And I'm so and I'm not doing it because I think I'm the greatest thing. It's just I'm caught in my own stuff.
Yes.
And we all get caught in our own stuff. And that's part of life. And there's some people that can come into there and help kind of bring us out of there. There's our kids can do that for us. And yet sometimes we also have to be responsible to do that for ourselves. Like what is something outside of me that's happening that I want to pay attention to?
Your kids.
The first things first. Hopefully that's the first thing I say. Thank you for answering that for me, because you're right. Yeah, my kids.
But no,
yes.
I think that's been the biggest lesson for me. I'm just like, why am I doing all of this? Oh, right. These little people.
Oh, yeah, right. One day they'll thank me. Yeah, right. But that's only because I'm, I got a preteen now, so my patience is being tested. But what I was going to say before was to not go back to the body, but you talked about having this self-compassion and taking care of ourselves and complimenting ourselves. And it just made me think of these boudoir shots that I recently forced myself in some way, because I was going to do them when I was 20.
Yep.
And of course, it never happens, right? 22, I guess, years later, you're like, okay, I guess I'll do this.
Because are we like even fully confident at that age, really?
Well, like honestly, I guess I did at 41, but at 41, I'm not even that still confident. But my priorities have shifted.
Yes, yeah.
And while I'm still not in the best body that I ever, J-Lo's body, I'm in Kieran's body, right?
Exactly.
And so you had kind of mentioned, you and I were just having a quick little chat before this, and you had mentioned you also did them.
I did, yes. I did a boudoir shoot with Rihanna Elizabeth.
Okay.
Yeah.
When did you do them?
After babies.
Well, I guess it is, I mean, even if it's now, you're 2 years in. It's literally after babies.
I did it 9 months post.
Oh.
I think it was 9 months. Yes, it was around 9 months.
Okay, yeah. Can we talk? I'm getting like the hair on my arms is raising. I'm getting goosebumps.
Man, I want to keep doing them. Like there's
9 months after having your twins, though.
Yes.
So first of all, is this well, I don't even know how we didn't start with this. Is this something that you always wanted to do?
Always. Oh yeah, I've always loved just the boudoir photo shoots and stuff. I even going back to dance stuff, I wanted to do, what are they called? There's a name for them. The burlesque show. Thank you.
Oh, there you go. You did it. Yeah, burlesque is so sexy.
Yeah, like I thought that'd be fun to do. And there was like a group in town, again, that was looking for someone to join. I was like, I can fucking do this. I just have to hide it from my family. But
when I'm not dancing.
When I'm not doing hip hop.
When I'm not hip hopping, yes. I'm doing.
Yeah, no, I've got weird plans in my head. But so no, I've always like, it's so tasteful. It's so, I just love it. And, but I had thought about doing a boudoir photo shoot. I had known some people that had, one of my sisters had done it too. And then, I came across Rihanna, and I just love her. She's very much like all body positive, and she's so much fun to work with. But I follow her, and every time I'm just like, oh, I should do it again. And I like, cause she also does shots like in a bathroom, bathtub kind of stuff, shower. And I'm just like, it's so hot. Like, it's just,
it's sexy.
And it's just, it's amazing. Like, obviously there's editing and touch-ups and stuff like that, but she really keeps it real and honest, like stretch marks and everything.
Right. Yeah.
And she herself has had kids, and they're also older, and she photographs herself sometimes. Like, you see her stretch marks on her stomach. And so, for me too, doing that, I was just like, let's fucking go. Let's do this.
Yeah.
And like got like fully naked for some of the pictures and stuff
so,
like that.
like, you're just jumping to this so quick, because I'm still stuck at 9 months post baby. You're like,
when you put it, like, I actually don't think I even thought about. I was just
that's
like,
what you should be thanking yourself for. Let me do you a little note right here, because there are so many of us that wouldn't even do the shoot, right? It's risky. We have to be very vulnerable. There's all sorts of reasons why we don't do it.
Yeah.
But then there's you over there in this one little corner. And maybe there's a few more of you out there. And if there are, talk about this, because that is lovely to hear that the body that you had and that was at like the anniversary. Like, why 9 months post birth?
Just the date that worked for both of us.
Just ended up happening. It's almost like the anniversary in some ways or what. But like your body is in.
I never thought about that. Like 9 months in, 9 months out. I was like, oh yeah.
Well, you see these TikTok pictures of the moms with the baby. I was like, well, maybe that's what it is. But it's symbolic that it was, right? And so you're doing this, and were you scared, or did you ever for a second want to think, why am I doing this? Like, before you showed up, or were you like,
I was like nervous, but I was excited. I was like, let's do this, because like it's, I don't know. Her photos are it's so stunning. And like the lingerie pieces, like I don't own lingerie because I don't think men actually care about lingerie or like just get out of it. Yeah. Like
it's one more obstacle.
But no, I was a little nervous, but I was never questioning, like, I don't think I should be doing this. I was like, let's go. Like, and I want to go back and do it. It's like, it's expensive. More.
Yes, it is expensive. Why do you think? Why is it expensive?
I think it's, she's talented. They're talented at what they do and the editing, but it's also, she makes beautiful albums. So she has someone else create them and everything. So I think it's just the products and everything. But it's like, it's so worth it. Like, to celebrate your body. What would you tell
other women, like, right now that are like, fuck that shit. This Anna's crazy. What would you tell those women?
I would say to do it. Like, you can get, like, there's lingerie pieces. Like, my stomach, was bigger than and even, it's funny, now I feel like I'm in, like, not as good shape as I was back at 9 months.
Oh, okay.
Because I was so active that spring and summer, just because I was like, okay, well, I can't go anywhere because of the pandemic. So I was doing a lot of walks, and I'm pushing 2 babies up and down hills, because where I live, we have a lot of hills.
And you're also breastfeeding them. And some women can lose a lot of baby weight while they're breastfeeding. You're burning calories all day.
You're burning more calories. For some women, they just don't have that effect. But
I was that woman. That never happened to me.
It's so weird.
Breastfeeding didn't work. I know. It's just, right?
Do and don't.
Yeah.
Everyone's so different. But yeah, so I would say, like, just go for it. Like, do your research. You can talk to them and see if they're a good fit and stuff. And, you can decide. Like, I don't know if all of them do, but she's just like, if you have pieces you want to wear, like, bring them, we can go over them. She definitely has, like, a vibe that she wants. And so there's some things that she's like, not doing that. Like, that's not a thing I like to include or have as clothing. But yeah, there's lingerie that, like, can hold that stomach up or whatever and stuff. If you don't want to get fully naked, fine. But, like, it's very tasteful and it's a very empowering experience.
It is.
Like, it's just you and her, and, like, like she was taking photos. She was like, oh my God, like you're so hot. Like she's just like things like that.
Yes, right? So, the validation and that genuineness, because you're thinking, am I doing this right and whatnot? And to have her looking at you and then validating that is amazing to hear over and over. And as women, we don't do that often. We don't validate each other. I mean, we don't know sometimes how to validate ourselves, so it makes sense that we wouldn't really think of each other either. It's harder, right? And so when you have her doing that, you're like, yeah, that's right. And then when you look at what was it like when you first looked at your pictures?
I think that night she had sent some sneak peeks and I was like, holy shit, I'm hot. Like,
that's amazing.
And it's all, as much as we have talked about like your physical body is not important and don't focus on your physical body. It's like, we are human beings. We have, for those of us that have vision and stuff, or like even touch and, when we're feeling each other's bodies or our bodies.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's hard to say, like, just forget about your physical body.
Yeah.
Just, we're human.
That's right. Yep.
And like I said previously, it's like, celebrate what you love about your body. But it's like, the bodies that we see on magazines, those are not real.
Especially after boudoir shot, because I had told my photographer I was doing this thing for myself. Yeah. And so I didn't want any touch-ups because I was like, that I know me, I would want to look like a Kardashian or J-Lo, so we're not going to do it. If the belly's hanging, it's going to hang up. That's the way it is. Because this is how I'll remember me always. This is how I can sustain versus that super skinny lady that I can get to be. Yeah. So I kept it that way. But when you that empowering feeling you're talking about, when you look at yourself and you think, oh my God, I look like that. And then you realize, oh yeah, okay, I can look like those models in those pictures too, because that's exactly what it is. They can Photoshop it. If Lori did more Photoshopping, I love my pictures. I'm like you said, I was really happy with them, but I know I could look like some of those
they could
models.
Change it up so easily.
We forget about that, we think, and even when you look at yourself, because she talked a lot about when we look at ourselves in the mirror, let's say first thing in the morning, sometimes we're not nice to ourselves because we don't, versus right now I'm makeuped up. I might look at myself in the mirror and wink at myself, and I'm not going to do that later. But it's like a reminder that those pictures, I can look like that. Yeah. This is me though. So how do I appreciate me? Because okay, fine, I look like that in the picture. Now what?
That's a moment in time. Like,
exactly.
You Snapshot. Look super great on your wedding day or whatever, or your baby shower. Like, those are just moments, and sure, you can make yourself, like, put the effort in for that. That's fine. Like, get dressed up, do the hair, do the makeup, whatever, get that outfit. But I think it's just like, you also have to be with you all the time. Yeah, and like, you do. Right? Yeah. There's no getting away from that person. You're not that person that you were on that wedding day. And right. Like you say, like, I look back at photos of myself before being pregnant, back when I still also, like, judged myself on things or criticized certain parts of my body. And I was like, holy fuck, I was, like, ripped and, like, I missed that body.
I know.
And then,
why was I not better to that body then?
Exactly.
And say thank you for that.
Yeah.
Right?
And so I think it's just, you need to, instead of waiting until it's too late to be like, I appreciate this. Look at what I have. Look what I can do with this. Look what it allows me to do. Later on, just do it now. Do it in a moment. Do that today. And like, that could be something you're grateful for.
Right.
Like, today I was able to, I don't know, carry a lot of groceries from the store or something, something simple like that. Like, clients are, they appreciate that they can play on the floor with their kids and like their back not hurt.
100%. Yeah, for sure.
Or keep up with their kids when they're mountain biking, because they're just like little demons on bikes now.
Right.
Yeah. Because they're looking at you. And I think that's another thing is, again, coming back to that self-talk we have for ourselves. We don't want our kids talking to themselves about that way.
That's right.
That way. And so you're also a role model. If you're taking care of your body, you're showing your kids it's good to take care of your body, that it can be fun. Like, I don't necessarily need my clients to like love fitness and love working out. I just do the work, because like, we don't have to love all the work in life. But also just like, and that's with the Right to Roam, it was all about being active outdoors. And so that's how that all kind of ties in. Like, I like to work with moms who mountain biked before having kids, rock climbed and stuff like that. And so just like getting you back to not like your pre-baby body, but just getting you back to moving your body in the ways that you love the most.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It's funny you say pre-baby body. I had a friend one day put into perspective, and she's like, some people can get back to their pre-baby baby weight, but your pre-baby shape changes. And so you have to understand, like, your hips might look a certain way, and you, especially if you carry the baby, like, what you stretched out, man, like that balloon again. That balloon looks very different, right? Before you blow into it. So it's just reminding ourselves that our body, like you're saying today, our body did this, was able to give us this, but also our body can give us a lot of other things. And through movement, it impacts our mood, our mental capacity. So even if we're not really into the fitness regime, what am I doing to take care of myself so I have energy to be present with my children, like you're saying, whether that's on the floor or picking them up from school, or, and sometimes a car rides home are the best part of why I left my job recently. I was in mental health for a long time, and part of why I left was because I wanted to have more of these moments with my kids. And I love after school, like picking one of my sons up. I get to pick him up, and then when my other guy comes home, it's like right away we get to talk about what happened because it's still fresh. Whereas previously I wouldn't see them till way later, until before bed. And so by that time they're like, Mom, I'm done. I'm over it. And so having those conversations, those drives home, it's, even though I'm not working, sometimes I can not be present, and my son's trying to tell me stuff, but my brain is like, I got to do this, I got to get this thing, that, and that. And it's just a nice reminder to, when you talk about the gratitude and just being present and grounding ourselves, those are nice reminders about being more in the moment, so we can thank ourselves, so we can appreciate ourselves. And like you talked about with you and your husband, coming to that team meeting, appreciating each other, not being those two ships through the night, so that you can actually be present and locked in and say, I love that you did that, or I love that this thing happened.
Of this from you. And
it's like it's all very connected. And so that whole oxygen mask theory on the airplane, it's the best thing ever, because you start to take care of your own vessel and your own mind. Oh my gosh, the things that we can do for those around us. And we often don't start there. And I think as little girls, many of us are taught, take care of everyone else before yourself. And that's a good girl that doesn't speak up and do those things. And then all of our cultures play different roles. And then, you become a little big girl and you're having a hard time now taking care of yourself.
Exactly.
And when you have a baby, you realize if you don't do it, like you said, you can become a rager, or you can find other parts of yourself that you didn't know existed.
And I think sometimes we need to find those other parts of ourselves to do some learning and like growing and be like, okay, like that is coming from this place, or that's a learned thing I saw in my childhood. I don't want to continue that. Right. And so I think, like that's where I think failure has to happen. You have, like, it's weird to say that I value failure, but it's like, that's where you know that you're like, okay, we're doing something different here. I need to do better at this. And that's, and then having people to support you with it. Like I think with prenatal postpartum, like it takes a village. Like you should have a personal trainer, you should have a physio, you should have some nutritionists, you might need a net lactation consultant if you're choosing to breastfeed. Like you need to have access to that. And then that's also where I think like our government and our healthcare systems need to do better. Because, things may happen in your birth that, like for me, when I experienced doctors and nurses being like, oh, you're deciding to, push in an incorrect position and you're not breathing correctly. Like, that's really shitty. Or something even worse can happen. Like, more serious trauma can happen in birth. But those doctors and nurses are probably so fucking tired. They're overworked. They're maybe underpaid, and they're just like, we got to get this baby out. We got to get this mom ready to go. We got to clean this room up for the next one coming in. And so I know it's not just a reflection on like the doctors and nurses, or like,
it's the system.
It's the system.
Yeah.
And so I think there's so much work that has to be done. And I also know it's like, it's a financial thing. Not everyone can access that. Right.
Yeah. Like you can pay for that if it was private, but whoever could afford to pay for that, that's a whole different conversation.
And that's, us living here in Canada, we're so, like our mat leave is so much better than what's going on in like the States.
Yeah. Like we're at 18 months now. And
I just like, I can't imagine, unless, if it's your own personal choice, you're ready to go back at 6 weeks or whatever, or even earlier. Like we need so much more time to heal.
Oh yeah. I struggled to go back the first time.
Mentally healing.
Yeah, for sure. And you just when you start to feel a little bit of what normal used to be. And, you know, you're kind of figuring that out just a little bit.
Into a routine.
Yeah, you're like, oh, now I have to go to work. Yeah. And again, for some people, that's
their choice.
Yeah, right? Like my second round, I couldn't wait to get to work. And I actually hated weekends because I really struggled when my kids were very, very young. Like I didn't really like them from 0 to 5. I loved them, of course, they're my babies and all that. But 0 to 5 was really hard for me. Yeah. And I know at my work, all sorts of things played a part for me. Was going to ask you, and I am glad that you brought it up, because I was going to ask you what are some things that people can do for themselves, knowing that our healthcare system can't always be reliable. And so what are some take charge things that maybe worked for you or that you've seen with clients that we can be responsible for?
I think definitely like if you are even like trying to conceive kind of stuff, like start thinking about, okay, what does it take in like, what would I need in pregnancy? And so I think some people will go with a midwife. I wanted to, but because I had twins, I was high risk, whatever that means.
Yeah, I love the flashing quotes right now.
Just like high risk,
yeah.
okay, like they could come early. That's really the only risk.
Okay.
But like having a midwife, I really recommend a doula, or at least doing like a birth prep course, just so you know what your options are in pregnancy. We do so much to prepare, I think, for birth and so much to prepare for baby, but we don't really do anything to prepare for postpartum. And so my doula, the company that she co-owns with her friend, I don't know if they had it then because they had just started it when I started working with them, but now they offer, and I give it to all my clients. I'm like, use this. It's a postpartum checklist. Oh. So it has things like, what's our plan for visitors when the babies arrive? What's the plan for when you go back to work? And then you have numbers for a lactation consultant, for pelvic, organizing all of that. I think is important. Like building your team essentially.
Right. Yeah.
And then talk to your doctor about it. Like I didn't know that AHS, the Alberta Health Services, offered those 10 free postpartum.
Yeah, I didn't know that either until you brought it up.
And so it's just like asking that kind of stuff. Like it's unfortunate that the work has to be done. Like part of me wants to just, I don't know if I even could, to deliver it out, but I'd love to create like a booklet of just like things to consider. Like, and I try not to say should, because not everything is for everyone. Yeah. But just like, here's what you could use, and here's this person you could reach out to, and here's consider getting a trainer, or blah, 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 like things like that. And just going out to all the OBs and being like, can you get this out to your people?
You should do this.
Because like there's just so much information. And, and even things
you should do it.
You know, my son had really bad eczema, and so I had to be careful with some foods. Yeah. I gave them eggs one day, and he blew up, really bad allergic reaction. And like I panicked so much, we ended up calling the ambulance. I was just like, I don't want to be driving.
Scary. Yeah.
And him having like asphyxiating the back or something because he was starting to cough.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, just gave him Benadryl. He was fine. But now we had to have EpiPens for him. And so with allergy testing, we had to go through that. And I didn't know that when you introduce eggs, you want to use a ladder like this. So you start with baked goods, and then you do like a pancake.
I don't think I remember that either.
That should be on a piece of paper that we give to new parents when they go home. Like just things like that. But I'd say build your team, because you don't know necessarily what you're going to need postpartum. Right. But if you want to breastfeed, do your research on some lactation consultants and reach out to them, and then write that number down, their email, and so that when something does arise, you can reach out to them. Right. And you're not spending more time doing your research when you're struggling and stressed about your kid not latching on or whatever. And then it's a skewed research too at that point, because you might be desperate or you're really seeking validation too. Yeah. Is this normal? Is this okay? Because like you said, while breastfeeding can offer a lot of advantages for your baby, it's not for everyone. It can cause a lot of problems. Right. And if you are a stressed mom while breastfeeding, because breastfeeding stressing you out or part of that impact is going to be had on your children. So is it really beneficial to you stick it through and fight hard and breastfeed them because that's what, again, society is telling you should? Or do you stop and you look at what's in the best interest of my child and I? Mm-hmm. The best version of me cannot breastfeed or can't do this thing over here that other parents are doing. Yeah, if you're in pain and every time you child latches onto, it hurts. Like,
or you're not getting the milk, or you're getting too much. So,
you're exposing your body to so much more like stress hormones, and so it's not doing you good or the baby good. So it's, I definitely say like find the team, build a team that will take you through pregnancy and that you have them postpartum. But yeah, I think that's
lovely.
Question.
Yeah, no, I think you're doing a great job. You're doing a great job being a guest. I love it. You did a good job answering and keeping me on track today. I love it. So is there anything at this time I'm going to ask you, anything that you wish I had asked you, or anything that you wish you had brought up that we haven't really covered yet?
I don't think so. I think we covered pretty much like all the goods, all the important stuff. It's, focusing on building that team, I think, is important, that it does take a village for everyone, and that just remembering that how hard pregnancy and birth is, and not taking that value away, and knowing that, like you're worth so much more than what your body looks like. Yeah. You're worth even more than what your body can do. Like, I know that's something that I have said, where it's just like, I appreciate more of what my body allows me to do. Yeah. We're more than our bodies.
Yeah. Well, you're right. We are. And I think if we can continue to get that message out there, I think it can be so beneficial, because some of us need to hear that multiple times. And for me, if like I said, my kids are a little bit older, and there might be other people listening who have kids that are older, however, are still tackling it because we didn't necessarily be attuned to that, or didn't really tap into that. And over the years, your parenting years, all that stuff starts to become something that is part of who you are. And so like that constant negative self-talk continues as your kids grow, and can also, like you said, impact them. So now you have an adolescent before you, and you're doing the same thing with them. You're not good at this, or you've got to be better at this. And so at some point, we have to start to recognize that the way that we look at ourselves is going to definitely influence how we parent our kids. And so it's been a really good talk with you today to just remind us how we can get back on track with starting with ourselves, taking care of ourselves, and also reaching out to others as well. Yeah. I love that you talk about the village. I think the village is what helped me grow up in a healthy environment when I didn't get all the things that I needed growing up as well. Like you said, first gen as well over here. So immigrants, and somebody had shared a really interesting quote the other day by a minority comedian who said, first, kids who have immigrant parents coming to North America, like they watch their parents trying to survive in the country. They're fighting to survive. And then when we grow up as a first generationers, I guess if you want to call us that, we're fighting to have a voice. And it's kind of like our time now to start having this voice and talking. And so people are having kids with their own culture, their norms, and their customs in North America. And I think it can be really trying for them as well, because they only know how they grew up, but their kids are learning in a country that can, you can, like I always say, your kids will surpass you. We surpassed our parents because we're growing up in this environment. And so I think
that's what we want, I think, too, right?
We do. Yeah. I think it's exactly, we want our kid. That's right. My cousin and I always say, we don't want to, we want to do better. We want to be better. Because sometimes you joke, oh, I turned out fine.
And then you think about things, you're like, did I?
Yeah. My sister and I have those sometimes. Did I? Moments. Did you? As you're twitching in a corner. And I think, those reality checks are funny. And we want our kids to do better. I think we want to do better. However, better isn't always constantly being on the go. No. Better can be still and pausing.
Exactly. I think there needs to be more pausing and just like, what's working, what's not, what do I need more of right now, what do I need less of right now?
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's not, and even when it comes to fitness, like the routine that we want, the life balance, I don't think there is anything like balance. I think I came across this, I think on Instagram somewhere, but life is like more like a pendulum. So you're swinging your resources and your energy and your whatever to things that you need to focus on in that moment. It's not going to be the same. You can't have the same workout routine. You can't have the same work schedule, especially if you have kids. Kids are going to get sick. You're going to get sick.
That's right.
Go take a vacation. Like, you're allowed to go do that.
When does that happen? Right? Exactly. Right.
I think again, that's the society being like the work, like productivity, like you had brought up, where it's just, doing nothing is also productive.
Yeah, doing nothing is doing something.
It's helpful for you.
Yes.
And I think just being, especially with kids, it's like, just slow down and be present with your kids. Even like, my one sister, she takes photos all the time, and like, I'm not as bothered by it as her children are, but sometimes I'm like, just put it down, just be here.
Yeah.
Like, we will remember this.
Right.
We don't need 70 angles of the same event happening. And so, but it's hard. I think it's definitely hard.
Yeah, because you want to capture everything. But yeah, I think that whole being present and being as involved as we can, not just with our kids, but with ourselves, like finding ourselves. I had to figure out who I was outside of my husband. I had to figure out who I was outside of my kids. And then recently finding who am I outside of my job. And there are so many versions of us in a day. We wear so many multiple hats, and how can we make those versions sort of work together versus we're always fighting again. I'm fighting against my job. I'm fighting against my partner. I'm fighting against this and that. And so it can be really exhausting and tiring. And no wonder people do it in isolation.
Yeah.
However, it doesn't work out for our kids and for ourselves when we continue to do that way. Because I don't want my kids growing up looking at me and my husband and thinking my parents had it all. And so they did so good. They never fought. They had the best relationship and all sorts of things, when that's not the reality.
No.
And I laugh because we had a really cute fight even just yesterday. I want my kids to grow up seeing, we come back and we say sorry and we work those things out, because realistically they're
that you're human, and that
well, that's just it.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It's hard that relationships are work. Like, it's not just this easy thing that's supposed to just happen and you're spending all your time together. It's you're a couple, but you're also individuals with your own interests, and like, you need to support each other and make space for each other.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. And healthy ways of, how can you do things outside of your kids and outside of your partners, outside of each other? And how can you do things as a whole? Like you said, those vacations and things like that. And even splitting the kids up. Sometimes I remember bath time was always really hard, because I'd always put my kids in the bath together, 2.5 years apart. So in my head, it made sense time-wise because I'd put them in together. But it was the worst fucking time in that bathroom. It was like a big-ass blue whale splashing, right? Because the bathroom's a mess, and I can't get them showered. They're distracted. They don't want to get out.
Play.
And I just remember being like, I don't have to do it all at once. I remember friends saying, why don't you just bath them separately? It's like,
you're like, I thought I'm being efficient, but I'm actually not.
Yeah, right. And so it's like, just stop for a second. We're trying to cram it all in, and I think that's what your message has been. It's like, stop for a second and maybe take 2 if you need seconds to just pause, but we don't have to keep doing it.
Yeah.
So what is something that, like, a takeaway for listeners today? What you shared a lot of strategies, you gave a lot of good tips. And so what are some things, or one thing maybe listeners can take today that they can think about, or they could even go do?
I would say, like, just invest in yourself, because you're worth it, because you're important. And like, the thing that you want to do, whether it's a hip hop class or a boudoir photo shoot, or you want to sign up for my program, like, it's just do it. Like, I think too, sometimes we don't think we're worth the money. And I think I come across that, people, and I understand some people don't have the finances. They cannot make it work. But sometimes what else can you maybe take away and not pay for right now? Do you need coffee from Starbucks every day? Like, that stuff adds up.
It does.
Do we need the 20 different streaming services that we're signed up to?
True.
There's just things we're totally okay with spending money on things for our kids and programs for our kids. Why are we not doing that for us? And so my message is, invest in yourself. Buy the workout equipment, get to the gym, buy the membership, sign up for the program. Even if it's just something you do for 3 months, like, maybe that's going to kickstart some new pattern, some new habit. Yeah, that's my thing that I always say is, like, you're worth it. Just invest in yourself, see what can come out of it, and take a break if you want to try something different after.
That's lovely. Yeah. I love that message. Thank you for that.
Yep.
I just want to thank you again for coming on today. We've talked about a lot of things, and all of the things that you talked about today with me really resonated. And I think it doesn't matter what part of the journey we're in as a parent or as a human. You talked a lot about just being human today. Yeah. And so this episode isn't just for parents. It's for any of us that are looking to give ourselves permission to find that balance and not be in the all or nothing world. And I love that. I love that you were able to come on today. I love that you channeled that a lot. And I love that you also love hip hop too. So that part was my favorite. It was discovery that I discovered. I loved it. So thank you. I hope that everything goes well with your business, because we need it. We need people like you out there helping parents, you know. So, and one thing I was going to ask you is, if there's anyone outside of Calgary, because you do online stuff, so do you have to be from Calgary to be okay?
So I have had some people who don't live in Calgary, and if you're in like the Strong Mom Collective, obviously the meetup stuff, right, you can't get to. Like, you know, my big dream is that'd be great to have like someone in other provinces in Calgary that wants to be part of it, start this up with me, and so we can have like the BC moms and stuff like that. But yeah, so
the West Coast.
Exactly. Yeah. East Coast, West Coast, all that for the Strong Mom Collective. But I also do VIP online training. So that's more of like the personalized experience. It is a higher price point. We do a virtual session once a week together. And so that is good for people who just like need a little bit more guidance and support and that accountability. Like, I'm waiting for you on the other side of the screen once a week for you to show up. And so, and again, I've had people who will do that just for a short amount of time, like 3-4 months. Yeah. And then they're like, hey, I think I'm in a rhythm. I can control this. Right. So yeah, but no, anyone can sign up for it.
Oh, that's good. Okay. I'm thinking of some Edmonton moms. Yeah. So that's good to know. So thank you.
You are so welcome. Thank you.
Yes. And for those of you listening, just a reminder again, this conversation is a door opener. So if you have any feedback or any questions for Anna, where can people find you?
So Instagram, I am Right to Roam training. And then also you can just shoot me a DM on there, or even an email at Anna@Right2Roam Training. So it's with the letter 2.com.
Perfect. And I will have that posted as well. Exactly. And if you have any feedback for us here at Middle Fingers Up, we would love to hear from you. We always love hearing from you. So you can hit us up at MFU Podcast or info@mfupodcast.com. Thanks again for coming on today, and everyone else listening, really, really appreciate all of you who are continuing to send that feedback in, as well as continuing to listen. Thank you.